Yeah, we like to record straight off the bat too, because some of the good stuff you get right in the beginning too.
Well, that was why I was just about to record that, because I thought Sixpack was going to like drop himself in the shit and be like, I'm double booked, and then not told the other person.
That's our clip, eh? That's our magic moment.
I'm the exact same way where I start recording pretty early, unless I get on and I just want to break the ice with the person if they don't do a lot of podcasts, and then maybe they feel a little more comfortable, talk a little bit, and then start recording. But sometimes the best shit is, right off the bat, you just get loose and start flowing. Like, damn, we should be recording this.
Yeah, for sure, right? We've had some guests that we've started recording straight off the bat, and it's just not. I don't know, Jackson, it doesn't flow. And I'm thinking, because we're just rookies, eh? We're only, 29 episodes in now, eh? So
don't tell them that, bro. Shit. Oh, we're 200 episodes in.
229 is what he meant to say.
Yeah.
But you would still be, even after 29, you start finding your flow. Like, I remember when you first, man, King of List podcasts was so different when I first started. Holy moly. You just, I don't know. Do you guys find you've already started changing a little bit from your first episode?
For sure. Yeah, 100%. I look back at our first episodes, and we've come a mile since then. Jackson probably gets a bit pissed off, but I'm always thinking, bro, we need to up our game. We need to get some T-shirts. We need to get some backdrops. I think we need to change our cameras. Let's get a studio, you got
a half-hour makeup. You're coming in like it's Saturday Night Live.
Yeah. We need a crew. We need a production team. We need to go, because I watched Joe Rogan, and I look at his setup and I go, bro, that's us. That's goals right there. That man's going on.
I feel like sorry, you go.
Did you change anything for like when I first started? There wasn't as many podcasts at the time for powerlifting. There was tons of podcasts, but now there's a lot more. But I wasn't sure how I wanted to sound or whatever. So, and I wasn't sure how things would go. So I wrote down like 30 questions or more. And I'm I had them down on a piece of paper, and I was because I wasn't sure. Right. And I was I was listening to Joe Rogan and stuff. I'm I would love if it sounds like that, but I don't know if talking about powerlifting will end up sounding like that. So then, or if powerlifters. So if I ever ran into the shit, I would have some backup questions or something. Right. And, so sometimes I think the earlier ones were just rolling down questions, and it sounded nothing like it sounds now. But you get really good at communication with being able to keep a conversation going without, unless someone's giving you yes and no answers.
I tell you what, that's funny you say that, because about 3 weeks ago we had Chad Wesley Smith lined up, and he's a smart fucker, And I wrote down, no shit, 3 pages. I wrote down 3 pages, and every day, in the week leading up, I'd read through every single question. Okay, fucking pillars, yes, principles, fuck, what are these principles again? I'd fucking rehearse them. It was getting to the point where I was like, I don't want to fucking do this episode anymore, eh? He's gonna say something. And I'm not gonna know what I'm talking about.
Greg's got all these questions to sound like he knows what he's talking about.
I gotta sound smart. This is Chad Wesley Smith, man. That guy knows his shit.
Yeah.
I got to the point where I was so nervous, and I tell you what, on the morning it was a no-show, and Jackson, I didn't tell you this. I was relieved, man. I was relieved.
Yeah. Greg goes and cracks open like a 6-pack. He's like,
I'm like,
God damn! I'm glad that was over.
But I hear you, man, because I used to write down a whole page of notes, the whole history, and you end up feeling like it's just rehearsed. Because because my wife said to me, she listened, and she said, you don't respond when they give an answer. You pretty much just go, right. So next, and she was saying that's no good. You've got to respond and listen to them. And I'm like, you're right. I'm not listening. And so I stopped writing down the notes, and I just listen and talk. It's just a conversation.
Sorry, go ahead.
I feel like I've under prepared every episode. I've never done that. I just love yarns. That was when we came up with this. I was like, we get to talk to fucking. We were just going to talk amongst the boys. It was we had a couple of people from New Zealand who were keen, and then I can't remember. Oh, we got Odell and stuff, and then I messaged Brandon Allen and stuff, and they said yes, and I was like, excuse me.
Whoa.
Excuse
really?
me, Greg. What do we do? Greg.
Damn.
When are you free?
This is getting legit.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's funny how active listening is huge for it. I was the same way as you, Greg. It's good to early goings. I prepped because it alleviated anxiety to be like, okay, I'm ready though, so it'll be okay. If you're not ready with anything, like I've done some speeches and stuff like that with like 1,000 people watching, and you're like, if I know what I'm going to say, then it alleviates the anxiety a little bit because you feel ready. But I also know what you mean. It's weird how you respect the person you're about to talk to on a podcast so much to the point where you're nervous, so much to the point where if they cancel, you feel relieved. But then after the fact, you would be like, fuck me, I wish I had the opportunity. But I know what you mean, where it's like you're so anxious. Anxiety is a weird feeling, but it's also anticipation. It's fucking weird. Isn't it weird, man? It's the same thing with powerlifting if you're about to compete or anything, right? Right before it happens, you're like, you wake up in the morning like, holy fuck, I feel a weird feeling in my stomach. And that doesn't feel good. But it's only because you care that you feel that. Like if you didn't give a shit, what does it matter? So it's a good thing that you care. You got some skin in the game and you're doing something. But on the flip side, there's some uncomfortable moments in there, man. And I've had those podcasts too, where you're like, I don't like how I wasn't actively listening. I wasn't on my shit right there, right? I wasn't. I know what you mean. Yeah.
I was even before this episode, I was pacing around the house going, okay, what's the time? 8:40. Okay, sweet. Okay, what's the time? My wife's like, relax. And I'm like, no, I'm nervous. I'm nervous. Pack Lapadat coming on. I said, I always get nervous. And she's like, that means you care. You care. I said, you're right. And I remember you said it. You said it on a previous podcast. You've got to care. Like if you start doing this for all the wrong reasons, then it's gonna shine through. It's gonna come through.
Right.
It was hilarious. Like Greg didn't have his headphones on when I logged in, and then I just heard him giving himself like his pep talk, like he was about to run into a fucking like here we go.
All right, I'm ready.
Doing his stretches.
Come on.
Doing his stretches and shit. And then his wife's like, wait, who the fuck is called Six Pack? That's bullshit. She's like, we need nicknames.
I know. I was writing the names on the Zoom, and I'm like, Greg, and then we've got Six Pack Lapadat, we've got Nim Jackson. I'm like, we need some nicknames, brother.
That's right.
We need some nicknames.
For branding, man. For branding, it helps. Who are you guys looking to get? Who are some people that you want to get on the podcast, or like the big fish you want to reel in?
Oh, right here, man. We got it.
I set you up for that one.
We got
it. My man right here. Look at this guy. See, you're doing very well at this already. That's exactly
nice.
Downhill from here. It's downhill. We smashed it.
This is the peak. Nice. 29 episodes in.
No, I've got a few names. Like episode 3, where we're like, okay, we're this is going well. I messaged Ed Cohen, and he's like, yeah, and I'm like, fuck, Jackson, we got Ed Cohen, and then I messaged back going, brother, you got a date and a time? No response. Never heard back.
Yeah.
Okay. No, Ed Cohen's he's out of the picture. Who else is next? Okay, let's try and get. I'm thinking like Boris Chico. I wouldn't mind Boris Chico on because that'll be a good yarn. But I've listened to a podcast where there's live translation, and it's awkward. I don't know, man. You've done one? Have you done one, Six Pack?
I have done. I had a couple times. Yeah, I had a gentleman from Iran, Payman Mahari from Iran on, and a buddy of mine speaks Farsi, and he came on. So he was live with me in Payman in Iran, and he's like the Asia's strongest man. He's chasing Hafthor Bjornsson's deadlift record right now. He's a strong man, so he's not a power lifter. But so we did that, and it was like, here's what's cool about it. You feel like, for sure, it's not the same flow. I did the same thing with Yuri Belkin, actually. I had a translator. It's not the same flow, but it does have, it means something. Like Payman said, like, I appreciate the fact that you went out of your way to get a translator so people in the English-speaking world actually hear my story and hear what's going on and hear what we're doing in Iran. He's like, it means something. He's like, I reached out to him because I seen what happened. There was in Iran, like, he's huge in Iran. Whenever I post him, I'll get like 300 comments from Iranians saying like King Payman, and like they it's a big deal. And I saw some videos. There was some earthquakes in Iran and some villages that were decimated. And I mean, these people already weren't living great in these specific villages. So what little they had was getting decimated. And Paimon showed up in a freaking truck full of supplies in the back, hops out the truck and starts firing off these supplies, blankets, water, food. And these people see this guy who flips cars, pulls planes, is the Iranian champion, the Asian champion, and is like a finalist at World's Strongest Man. And it's like Superman hopped off the back of a fucking truck to save the day. And not only is he giving supplies, but it means something when that guy, and he's on television in a suit and like he's like a local celebrity. When these people are like, when you're ravaged like that, and somebody shows up of that magnitude, it's that fucking belief where you're like, show me a sign, please. And this guy shows up. No one asked. He just showed because he heard. And it's like, I saw that video and I'm like, I need this guy on the podcast. And in language is a barrier. You cross that language. So culturally, people get to dive in and hear this story. And then afterwards, like, you know, he's like, they're so appreciative because they know like the English speaking market is going to be so much bigger than the Farsi market. So it's like, you know, same thing with Belkin, where he was like, you know, appreciate the fact that you actually thought to reach out, went out of your way to get yourself a translator. And you're right, though. It's not quite like we're doing right now, where I listen to what you're saying, snowball off. You listen to what I'm saying, snowball off. That isn't quite there. However, it's just a different way of looking at things. And it's, you know,
no, you're right.
I don't know. It feels international to me. You actually feel like, fuck, we did something today, huh? You know?
Yeah. No, I listened to an episode with Mariana, and they had a translator there. And even though it was, you know, you've got to wait for Mariana to say her bit, then the translator to say their bit, and then the interviewer to say their bit. I got to say, I listened to the whole thing, because you're thinking, "Whoa, I've never heard from Mariana before. What's she gonna say?" You know, I'll wait the extra 30 seconds. It was interesting, no? But I hear what you're saying about these internationals, like just crossing over to the bodybuilding world. You know, you got Big Ramy who wins the Olympia. Fuck, he gets a parade when he gets back home to Egypt. You know, he's a national fucking hero.
Yeah.
They just they put their sports people on. Oh, we put them on pedestals in where we are, but that's next level. They're almost like royalty, aren't they?
Well, the thing is too, and I had Mariana as well. That just reminded me we got a translator for that one. So I guess we've done it a few times. But yeah, it is. I would suggest doing it because it is for all the reasons I just lifted. But you're right in terms of some people. Like I'm in Canada, and then just to the south of us is U.S. And you know, you talk to a lot of people in the U.S. and it feels like they have so many pro sports, and we're in we share a lot of the same leagues, like baseball. Like I'm right by Toronto. We have a Toronto league, the same baseball league, the same you know, basketball league, the same hockey league. Like we have the same leagues, and those sports are so big that what we're doing and like powerlifting, strongman, stuff like that doesn't necessarily. It pales in comparison, to be honest, right? It's kind of a niche sport. But in certain sections of the world, you don't realize it isn't that. Like these people like can be revered because certain sections of the world, they don't have all those other sports I just mentioned. Like in Iran, the gentleman just passed. It's too bad. He's a bench only, and he didn't have use of his legs. He's a Paralympian. And Rockman was his last name. And he with no use of his legs. So he couldn't base out. Sorry, go ahead.
I was going to say 300 plus bench?
300 kilo plus 310 kilo or 305 kilo.
I've
so
seen
671 pounds for our American friends. Yeah, with no use of his legs, not even to base out. Like, you know, even just like when you set up on bench properly to have like a bit, not even an aggressive arch, but a bit of an arch to have tension through the back. So even if they strap you, because they strap them to the bench, strapping isn't the same as actually being able to base with your legs to get the hold, just basing with your legs makes your core tight to make the power drive through the legs, through the core. He had none of that, bro. We're talking, he was Larson pressing. He was Larson pressing 305 kilo. Right?
They make them self-lift out too.
They do, don't they? Yeah.
Yeah, dude, it is Paralympic bench only is so strict. In terms of like what their calls, it's like, oh my God, man, the guys and girls don't have use of their legs, and they're like, lift it out yourself. You know, they're like, I was joking around how they're like, the head judge was like, I didn't care for the part in your hair, son. I'm gonna give you a red light. Like it's strict, man. But
it's ridiculous.
But speaking to him, I bring him up because in Iran, so this is a para-Olympian. In Iran, they had a fucking statue of that man.
Damn.
You know, we don't realize how some people, like a Paralympian in powerlifting, you wouldn't think for like in the U.S. you're going to get lost in the fold. It doesn't matter who you are. John Hack will get lost in the fold in the U.S. Because they got so many other stars. But in certain parts of the world, you have like statues, and I mean a massive statue of this guy built in Iran. Like, so certain places, it's crazy to hear their story and how people react to them. Yeah, I mean, I would definitely try to get somebody from around the world. And you do feel like, fuck, man, this is international now. This is real international. Although we're so international right now, we're in 2 different days.
Yeah, that's what you've made it.
How's the podcast going, Mick? Because I've got a confession. Like before we got into this podcasting gig, I would listen to maybe a couple of powerlifting podcasts. There's a couple of guys in Australia, Thomas Lilly, John Sheridan. There's a bunch of boys over in Perth, Australia. Iron Affinity, listen to them. And then we've got our boy Alexander Clark in the UK, listen to him as well. Then I listen to a whole bunch of other like true crime podcasts and stuff. Yeah. And I'd love that shit. And I'd drive for an hour and a half to work either way. So I'm podcasting all the time. Yeah, I'm driving. I'm thinking, yeah, I could do this. Yeah, we could do this. We could smash out a powerlifting podcast. There's no powerlifting podcast that I know of anyway in New Zealand. There probably are. So sorry, shout out guys if you are. Don't know about you yet. And I'm thinking we could do this. We could do this. Anyway, we get into it, and I'm loving it. And I'm thinking, what else is out there? Who else is doing a powerlifting podcast? Typing powerlifting into podcast into Google. Fuck. Everybody's doing it.
Yeah, everybody, man.
I'm like, oh damn! Here I thought we were branching out, doing something new. Okay, no, we're just one of many. And then I think, then the number one on the list always comes up, King of the Lifts. And I'm like, who's this King of the List? Let's type it in. Oh fuck!
Who is this King of the List?
Who's this King of the List? Eh? Well, are they like us? I know. Guilty. I'm like, whoa! And I start listening. I'm thinking, oh shit, this guy's good. This guy.
Oh, thank you, sir.
This guy's next level. And I'm thinking, I said, Jax, we got to up our game because King of the Lifts is next level.
Dude,
well, thank you very much, sir.
So the other night, we watched the fucking, I don't know if you've seen it, the internship with Vince Vaughn and Owen Wilson, and they go for an internship at Google. And then so one of the tasks they have to do is make an app, and Vince Vaughn's busy sitting there telling them about like this thing where you can take a picture and then instantly post it online to your friends and write a wee caption, and all the kids that he's working with are like, yeah, dude, that's Instagram. and he's like, no, this is different. This is you take the picture instantly and put it online, and we'll get it. It says, no, we're going to call it Exchangeogram. And this is literally like Greg talking about powerlifting fucking podcasts. Yeah. Every man that's like, who the fuck's King of the Lifts? Everyone is doing powerlifting podcasts.
I know. Shit. I'm going to edit that out, but no, that was...
No, don't edit. Don't edit. Do you guys edit? I never really... in all the podcasts we've done... Do you? Okay. You edit the beginning and end, do you?
Oh, dude, just the beginning time, man. We've got an intro.
Yeah, I put in an intro. I mean, do you ever take stuff out or shit like that?
What have you taken out?
Only twice. We had this one guest. I don't want to name any names. We had this one guest, and Jackson starts asking about, where does that name come from? Is that like a,
Oh, come on, man. It was legit.
And I'm thinking, bro, where are you going with this line of questioning, man? Like,
Oh, no, that's fair.
Yeah, I took it out. And then I should have taken out, we had an interview with Gracie V, and I wish I'd taken it out now. But right at the very end, because her husband's out deployed. Yeah. And for some fucking dumb reason, I said, good luck getting your husband back. I don't know why I said that. I mean, good luck. I meant to say all the best, in reuniting with your husband. I know he's on deployment, but for some dumbass reason, I said, good luck.
Good luck getting your husband.
And I'm thinking,
he's like deployed in the Middle East. I was like,
deployed, eh?
Greg,
thinking, all right.
What did you just say?
Gracie not coming back on. She's not coming back on.
She's like, not sure what to do with it.
She's like, oh, thanks.
What am I going to Liam Neeson take in this situation? What do you mean?
I should have edited it, but I'm like, what did I say that for?
No, that's a moment now. You can't edit it. That's a moment. Yeah, I've only very few times if I had to edit something where afterwards a guest, I think like literally a handful of times have been like, can you take out this one piece where I said this? And yeah, I like to just whatever it is, what it is, man, just pop it in there. You know, I throw an introduction on it and that's it. Yeah. I mean, that's the podcasts I listen to don't sound overly edited. Actually, they're like almost never.
No.
That's part of it. It's the rawness of it, right?
Yeah. No, we love it. We love it.
Well, I feel like if you do it becomes that more like an interview. All right. So where were you born? What date?
Yeah.
Like what minute? You know, like, and then like, you know, and then it's like there is no conversation because those stuff ups are part of conversation. You know, like you're trying to get your thing across, they're not getting what you're saying. That's my situation with that, Greg. You motherfucker. Anyway,
we go with this line of questioning. I'm like, who wants to know where he's born, what his ethnicity is? And I'm like, bro, you don't want to go down this. Don't go down this path, eh?
I was purely interested.
Especially like with international lifters, sometimes it is interesting. But yeah, it depends.
Depends what you're allowed to touch on and how it comes across.
Well, the only time, I mean, we always ask, like, what can we cover, what can't we cover? I think the only time we ever got feedback on that was from Brandon Allen. He didn't want to talk about anything to do with like Black Lives Matter because it was hot at the moment in the US. He didn't want to cover it. We're like, bro, we don't know anything about it anyway, so that's not our cup of tea anyway. So that's cool. We're just going to talk about you. So he was cool with that, you know.
Yeah, it's fair enough if someone comes on like, I don't want to talk about the U.S. election. It's like, well,
yeah.
We were booking Brendan Allen for the U.S. election feedback.
When are you running for president, sir?
Yeah, exactly. We didn't want your political views or climate control or we'll be good. We'll be good. No. But I do know, I guess like with that, it was depending on when you had him booked, it was like everywhere. You know, there's still, here's the thing with lockdown. Are you guys still in lockdown?
No, bro.
No. We had 2 lockdowns in 2 lockdowns in 2020 for about 3 or 4 weeks each. Jackson, do you remember?
We had the big one, which was like 8 weeks.
That was 8
weeks of just like you fucking stay at home, mate. You know, everyone just stays at home, and then got let back out, and it was all good. And then we had, I want to say we had a couple of localized ones in Auckland.
Yeah, 2 in my city. 2 in my city. A week. One was a week, I think, or 3 days. The other one was a week. Yeah, and that's been it for us. We've been lucky. Like there was shit going on all through 2020. It wasn't to the same extent, but you know, competitions were still happening. So, yeah.
Oh, okay, that's.
But you guys are next level. You can't even. Can you even go to the park?
We are still locked down. We can go to the park, but it's like essential businesses are open. Man, it's so slow goings to get vaccines and man, it's tough. So, and I have found during this time, for some reason, like it started in 2020 and now it's carrying over, feels like in 2021, but people are a whole lot more like touchy, quick to get pissed, and things feel different right now.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah. Have you noticed that too? I've noticed it at work too. People are a lot more tenser, right? They call it the COVID hangover, right? We're calling it the COVID hangover.
Well, we're still in the drunk phase over here in Canada. Like, we're still deep locked down. But I think when people are kind of back to a somewhat normal, like there's a UFC on tonight, and it's in Florida, and I'm told they're going to have full on like packed stadium style with no mask. You can, if you want to wear a mask, you wear a mask. You don't, like, this is Florida, man. Florida's
loose.
Wow, that's the wild. I know they're in the east side, but that's the wild west out there in terms of like the regulations. So I wonder what life is like over there and how people are. Because I think when people start being able to like go back to normal life, you get a little more loosened up. But the more locked up you are and the more isolated you feel, and then the more time you have to think about little things, and the more you're on your phone and social media because you're not outside busy with life. All right. Well, now you're going to get into other people's shit a little too much, right?
Yeah, my wife. My wife does a weekly call with her family in the UK, and like just until recently, because they've been locked up till recently, and they would say, so you know, what are you up to? And she would say, oh, not much. She didn't want to say. she didn't want to say what she was up to because it was like she was rubbing it in their face. I'm like, no, they probably want to hear it. But she didn't want to say. She wanted to say, we're at the park, we're going to concerts, we're going to restaurants.
Holy shit.
And they're like, yeah, no, just another day, stuck at home. Yeah, just doing my thing. You know, she'd be like, oh, yeah, about the same.
I can't even picture going to a park or a restaurant or concerts or like, we go to parks. We're allowed to go to like the dog park, walking one. I just mean like a park if there was like an event there and everyone's there, like there's no way.
You
know, or like restaurants or even walking around in like the mall or something. I can't picture going to the movie theater, man. It's been forever.
Damn, man.
Yeah, man, it's been too damn long. But
so how you been holding up? So you been all good?
Good. Yeah, I mean, I got a day job. I got King of Lifts, like the podcast helps because I talk to people like every single week. So that's huge, man. Like now even at work, like I work from home and like I used to see people every freaking day, you know, and now you're just like you're working from home and you don't see people. And I don't know. I'm a social dude, so I get a lot from social interaction. So that's why the podcast was a big deal for me to be able to like sit down and talk to people. Yeah. And you know, shoot the shit. And so that's where social media, I know some people rag on social media, but it ain't all bad, man, because you are connected with people. Yeah. It makes a difference.
Yeah.
It definitely makes a difference.
Yeah.
How do you guys liking it? Like the podcast in terms of that? Meeting people, talking to people.
Jackson, you start, man.
Oh, dude, I love it. I'm a yarner. Like, someone said we were training the other day and like this, one of the girls was like, oh, Jackson, you're such a snob. You snobbed me the other day. And my training partner, Jamie's like, that's definitely not Jackson. He'll literally talk to anyone, anywhere, like in the middle of the street. He definitely didn't snob you. He just didn't see you. You know, like, so I just love it, man. We used to sit down, have a yarn, you know, like, and when we started and it was sort of like, oh, you're going to just sit down and talk to someone for like 90 minutes. I was like, oh, it sounds daunting. But then, like, we did our first one, and I was like, all right, Jackson, you can do your intro. All right, 51 minutes later. You know, like...
Introduce yourself, brother. Yeah, 51 minutes.
But, like...
fucking episode on you.
Yeah, like, it's not actually that long. Like, especially when it's like, say, three dudes like this, like, we're all coming together over, like, a common interest. You know, it's not like... But we still all have different perspectives. Like you say, like, you're in Canada... Your situation is entirely different to us, so it is interesting. Yeah, so I love it. It's mint.
I don't know about you, Six Pack, but I mean, we talk about the powerlifting, you know, no doubt. We talk about the lifts, we talk about the history. But you know what I really love is the stories, the stories that people tell about their past, what got them into powerlifting, because often it's I don't know about you, Jackson, but I don't know about you, but there can be a lot of traumatic experiences that lead people down the path into powerlifting. I don't know if that's a sport thing or a powerlifting thing, but you know, we seem to come across some real heartbreaking stories more often than not. Like one of my favorite episodes was a young guy, Chris Kennedy, lift over here, IPF lift over here, and he was addicted to meth. He was on the street, and he knew that all he could do to save his life was to get put away. So he knew that if he didn't find help, and he didn't know about any kind of programs, all he knew was that prison was going to be his only option. So he purposely went out and committed a crime that he knew would get him about 3 to 5 years, because he thought 3 to 5 years is what I need to clean up. And so he went and robbed a small store, and he knew that he had to do more than just rob it. He had to be aggravated, so he had to take a weapon in. So he took a weapon in, robbed the store. He got his 3 to 5 years. He, on his first day, he's a 72 kilo lifter. It was
74s.
So he's not a big guy. So he had all these big gang members come up to him on his first day in prison and say, "Bro, you want to come work out?" And that's a story about how he got into lifting. These gang members said, come and work out with us. And 3 hours later, he was throwing up. And they called him Chucky after that, but he loved it. He said, from that day forth, I loved it. And that's his origin story for getting into lifting. And honestly, I'm sitting here on my seat going, wow, You know, I had no idea. You see these guys, you see them lifting, you think that's a good lifter. We'll get him on the podcast, and then you get these real stories, and it's like, wow, man, I had no idea. Hey, this is really deep. You know, and I was stunned.
I actually had Chris on the King of List podcast.
Oh, you did?
And and he was it's like when he was he's got a hell of a story. And when he was in prison, he actually started like they almost had like a little mini fight club, like where they would just train to fight. And it's like, what the fuck are you? What? And he goes, yeah, man, we just like we get in shape and like box and just fist fight and like you just spar. Like, what do you mean spar? You had gloves? Nah, man, we just fought.
You just
fuck each other up. Yeah.
But he's like a nice guy and but you're in prison, right? Like it is what it is. And he's a good lifter too. I know you mean where like sometimes I'll have topics like recently, obviously everything going on with the USAPL, IPF, and like you know, if something's going on in powerlifting, I'll have a preview show leading into a big competition, a recap show after a competition. I'll do stuff like that specific, but I also do love a good background story. And some of the ones that stuck out for me was probably the most powerful one I've ever had was CC Ingram. At the time, CC Holcomb.
Yeah.
And I had messaged her. A lot of times I'll message people like, is there any questions you think I should ask you? That a story that you want me to bring up? And she said, ask me why I started weightlifting. I was like, okay, probably that's a fair enough question.
That's a legit question. Yeah.
Right. So then next day I see her, we're looking at each other just like this. And I asked her, so CC, why did you start weightlifting? And she goes, when I was 13, I was held down on a couch and raped brutally. And I thought, I never want anybody to be able to overpower me like that again. And what happened to her was monstrous, and she created a monster. Now, good luck trying to. What
was your next question after that?
Yeah, where did you go? I remember listening to the podcast. I knew that was coming, and I'm still sitting here like, holy shit, he's going to fucking.
Brother, here's the thing. I did not know.
No.
I didn't know. So when it happened live, I hadn't heard her on any other podcast yet. She was like a star overnight with Kern, and this is good timing because Kern's on right now.
Kern's on right now?
Kern's on right now. Her first appearance at Kern, she won it and destroyed at it and was like phenomenal in like star overnight. She went in there with like 2,000 followers and got like 10,000 by the time the weekend was over, and then God knows how many after that. Because she did so well. So her background story wasn't really well known yet. And I'm like, I got to book her immediately. Had her on there, but without knowing. When she dropped, when that happens to you and someone looks you in the eye and is telling you that, and then you're just like, holy fuck. I had people reach out to me and be like, you didn't know what to say for the first, like, usually I always got some. Like,
you're never speechless, brother. You're never speechless.
Didn't know what to say there, did you, brother? I was like, man, where do you go?
What's the next question after that?
That was, we just dove into it a little bit, right? Like here's the thing. Someone wouldn't bring it up if they didn't want to talk about it. That's what I tell myself. If they bring it up, they want to talk about it. They want to. So it's like, this is something sometimes I've had people like co-hosts on and they'll like shy away if something big happens. Like, oh, I just wasn't sure if they wanted. I was like, brother, they know what they're doing. They're adults. If they bring it up, you got to dive in because somebody's listening to this that went through a sexual assault, went through some, like, I know it's tough to talk about. You have to get over your own insecurity and uncomfortableness about certain topics. And if it's brought up, they'll let you know if they want to back off and they'll change subject or whatever. You can tell with their answers, but you got to lean in. And that's what I've noticed with like podcasts. There's been a couple times I've had people on, especially like on the women, they've said like, I was molested, I was raped and stuff like that. And when it comes up, your knee-jerk reaction is you're uncomfortable and you're not sure if they're uncomfortable and you think you want to change the subject, but they know, they recognize they came on a platform, a big one, and they're throwing out a signal for anybody listening. And they're brave enough to do it. So you honor them by asking follow-up questions and reading the play and let them tell their story. And I know my knee-jerk reaction initially when I first started, like just normally, I'm just not, before you start doing podcasting and you're a normal dude, people just don't open up to you about shit like that you don't know. They have no reason to. There's no reason someone you've never met, I didn't know CC before. There's no reason why someone like that would open up to you. So you would get uncomfortable in your day-to-day if that happened. And when you first start putting yourself in these situations, you will get uncomfortable. But you have to hang in there and realize it's bigger than you. People are listening, and the person knows what they're doing. They brought it up. You have to do what you got to go in and ask follow-up questions, and that's it, man. So the first time with CC was tough because I think that might have been the first time was that. But by the time I had like Sophia Ellis from the UK, a junior 72 kilo lifter, and she went into like, she was molested. She was suicidal. She had eating disorder, the whole nine. And then like we hung in there for like 40 minutes talking about it. Like how, like when she was in the hospital and she was like, the whole nine. It's okay, man. And you start, like you learn from it. And then when you post that, the DMs you're going to get from people who listened, and be like, it means more, man. It means a lot. You don't know. Some people are listening and they're like, you fucking did some good there. It's like, I didn't do shit. She's the brave one. I just, you know what I mean? Don't give me nothing. Whoever is on the other side's the brave one. That's happened a few times since. And I honestly think, if you hold yourself in a certain way that people hear these stories and they hear it on your podcast and they feel comfortable with you, people listen to podcasts after a while and in a certain way, they feel like they know you. So when they talk to you, I realize it's for the first time I'm talking to them, but it's not for the first time they've heard me. So they'll be more comfortable with me than I realize. And when they might be like, I'm comfortable talking to this individual about this topic that happened to me because he's done it before and he handled it with some respect and it was okay.
Yeah.
But there are other podcasts where you're like, I might not go on. When Brendan Allen had that podcast, God bless him, he might be, you might not be the dude you're going to get into some deep topics. But God bless him.
That's funny how you mentioned that because I obviously I drive to work and I hear you in the car like maybe twice a week because I'm going back and listening to old episodes. You get to the point where I'm like, yeah, I mean, Six Pack, we go way back, So when I got you on, I'm like, bro, it's been a while, eh? How you doing?
It's been a while. You ask me questions.
It's been a while, brother. Yeah. We talked last week, but I'm thinking, you don't know me from a bar of soap, but because I listen to you in the car, I think, well, I know that I think I know this guy. I know a little bit about him. So we were like old friends.
Well, it is like you already know how they talk and how they joke around and how they whatever. So it's easier, right? To a large extent. It's interesting when you show up. So I do like the commentating at the IPF Worlds, and when you show up there, like in my day to day, it doesn't you're not going to meet a lot of people who are in the powerlifting community. But when you show up at like the Worlds, it's only like it's the world's powerlifting community met up at one particular city and just like, boom, we're all in the same hotels. We're all in the same whatever. And that's when it gets interesting when you're like seeing people that you would see in social media that like, it's all like, holy shit, we're all in the same spot. You're sharing an elevator with people and they're all talking different languages. And that's when you start meeting people that might have heard a lot of your background story. And you're like, this is definitely different, but it's going to happen to you fellas too. I mean, it is what it is.
So the last time did you commentate the 2019 IPF Worlds? Yeah, because you competed. That was the last time, was it?
Yeah, I competed as well. That's right. That's right. And I'm not overly optimistic there's going to be another one this year, but I mean, just looking at right now, it's scheduled for Belarus, which is, they're in upheaval.
I wanted to ask you about that, brother. I'm like, Belarus, I mean, could they have chosen another place? I mean,
I know.
Why is it got to be in Belarus, of all the places?
It's in upheaval. I don't know about the COVID. I mean, there's not a lot of good places, unfortunately, with COVID and lockdowns. Like most
New Zealand.
Well, yeah, New Zealand. There you go. Man, I would love to go to New Zealand.
Come on in.
I know.
We let the Wiggles in. We let anybody in at the moment.
Yeah, we've got the Wiggles and fucking Lion King and shit coming.
Yeah, we've got Lion King.
Yeah, I'd be game. I mean, I don't know. The thing is, moving an event that size, I think it's huge and it's probably very difficult. And then it's tough because I think the meet the records, which I feel bad for. If this gets canceled, it's not officially canceled yet for anybody listening. This isn't, but it looks like Right. I'm not breaking.
Six-pack.
Exclusive.
Greg goes, you hear it first. He just said it's canceled. Breaking news. But if it does get canceled 2 years in a row, I don't know what it's like. These meet directors have like the arena, the hotels, like what kind of money they're going to lose with all of like the equipment and everything. And like, I don't know, man, doing it 2 years in a row, he would be like, fuck my life. This is, I need to get my money back. I think that's why when it got canceled the first year, I don't know. I'm not privy to any of this, but they might have been like, all right, let's try to give it to him again the next year because he probably made some losses. And then, but if it happens 2 years in a row again, they might just be like, we're moving on then. We're not going to, it won't be Belarus again. Because Belarus had it in 2017 as well. I wouldn't mind. Yeah, man. I wouldn't mind seeing some other places, man. The world's a big place.
Belarus, that'd be exciting,
Yeah, that's a quick turnaround, man, especially for like a federation that has as many members as the IPF to go back to the same place 4 years later, 3 years later.
Yeah.
That's a quick turnaround.
Yeah, man. They got 130 member nations.
That's crazy.
130 men now. We got it. Like, New Zealand, man, it's beautiful. Let's go. Let's go. Let's see some places that are beautiful and like.
You miss out, it's tough to be a powerlifter, international powerlifter in New Zealand, even in Australia. It's tough to be a bodybuilder in New Zealand and Australia because all the competitions you got to go to the Northern Hemisphere. You got to go to the US. You got to go to Europe. The big strongman comps, they're all in they're in Europe and the US and so forth. So it's tough to be an athlete down here. Not a lot comes down our way. Like the biggest competitions we have down our way. Not the IPF ones, are things like Big Dogs and Pro Raw, and so you can see the attraction because obviously powerlifting, no one's making a ton of money out of powerlifting, especially, we don't make a thing out of powerlifting out of this podcast, but as an athlete, you're not making a lot of money. You spend a lot of money on yourself, on your own equipment and on, living the lifestyle. But as an athlete, just traveling to the US or the UK is a big expense. It's tough. It's not easy.
And obviously time zone change, like you guys are an entirely different day than me right now. So when you fly to the other side of the world, like you lose a day, you go back a day, like your body, it's weird.
We're going back.
Yeah, you're literally time traveling. It's freaking crazy. That's why Brett Gibbs, the year that he won, he actually won in Canada. Like he won a couple times, but when he won in Canada and beat Russell Orhe in 2018 Worlds, when Canada was holding it, and it's even further west than like in terms of time zone, it's like another hour over. But that's why whenever someone complains about like time zone changes and whatever the shit, I'm like, man, you look at some of these people from New Zealand and Australia and what they deal with, and they win, and like. Nobody brings that up. Like, well, I wasn't feeling so great. All right, you lost to a guy who traveled the world. He went back in time to meet you. Like, you know what I mean? Like, it's time. He is the Terminator. That's right. He's back to the future. Yeah. He hops on the plane and goes back to the fucking future with the gold medal. Like, come on, man. He doesn't catch a break. But I would love to see a little more. I mean, I would love to like go to somewhere in Asia, like Japan or like. I think one of the championships coming up is Mongolia, which would be, I'm a history buff, man. I love listening to like hardcore history and stuff like that. So a place with culture. And here's the thing with North America, a building's 200 years old and we're like, holy shit, that's so old. But in other places of the world, is it the same? Yeah.
Well, I mean, New Zealand was like, the Europeans only got here in like 1838.
Okay.
That's my history knowledge, but like
definitely. I mean, I think someone sailed past in the 1700s and maybe landed, but we weren't colonized until the 1800s. And so you get a building over here that's 100 years old, and you think, wow. I was like, damn, it's 100 years old. You get a building that's 50 years old, and you think, damn. Whereas when I go back to the UK and see my wife's family, and you've got things that are 500, 1,000, or 2,000 years old, it's like, wow. Yeah. But then you got places like Egypt where things are 5,000 years old. Yeah. It's like, wow, we got no idea, man. That's some real history going on there,
That bro, conspiracy, bro. They're 2 years old. It's fucking the pyramids. The aliens built.
Oh no! Here we go. This is a conspiracy podcast.
Here we go. Here we go. That's the real reason we got you on. Yeah.
That's right. Oh shit! Oh no!
The Earth is flat.
Oh no! Here we are.
Yeah. Please discuss.
Please discuss. It took a little bit of warming up, but you got me.
We got you, man. We got you.
Yeah, that's right. In Canada, like obviously the natives here before didn't have structures that were like lasting structures. They're almost like, it wasn't like they're building buildings, so to speak, right? So we don't have structures like that. So the structure, again, kind of like yourselves, it sounds like, where when the Europeans came and settled, they started building structures. And that was around the same timeline, late 1800s. So when we look at like structures, like this structure is like 200 years old, it's like, oh my God, that's insane. But when we go to like, I was in Italy, I was doing, all right, well, there's some stories. We can get into storytelling and origin stories, but let me tell you this. So I was in Italy for the Guinness World Record show, and
well, here we go. Yeah, there's the oranges.
Yeah, I just mentioned that I was on the Guinness World Record show. I didn't know if you guys knew, but
yeah, man, take us back.
But so one of the girls that was like, she was like an assistant on set, but she would also like take us around. I don't know if she had to, but she did. Took me and my buddy into the city and whatnot for like dinner, drinks, like her and a couple friends, and like were showing us buildings and stuff.
Sounds like a date, bro.
You know what? It wasn't a date. I don't think this was part of her job part, but it wasn't a date. But anyways, so then she was showing us buildings, and she thought impressing us was, let me show you this section. And it's like the modern chic fashion section, and I'm like, all right, but like I'm like, whatever. I mean, I could go to Toronto for like the shopping sections, like, and then I'm like, we want to see like your churches. And she was like, a church? And I'm like, these are 2,000-year-old churches. It sounds weird, but I'm like, you don't understand, man. We're from a culture that's so young. Like, I got you. I don't care about the modern chic, whatever. Show me your shopping sector. I want to see like the history. So they almost like, not quite take it for granted, but when you grow up in like Italy, the Colosseum in these buildings, it's not the same, man. But when you come from Canada and you've never seen anything like it, I'm like I'm like touching the side of this building, like people 2,000 years ago carved this. And she's like, what the fuck is happening right now with this guy? I'm like, well, I'm not religious, but she's like, take me to your church. It's
she's like, this is the worst date ever.
I look like a weirdo up the side of the church, feeling it, just taking the fucking aura in. She goes to talk to me, like, shh, hush.
No, I feel you, man. I feel you. When I went to my last trip back to the UK, we went to Wales, and we went up to this. I think it was called Shepstone Castle. And it's like 1,500 years old. I'm walking around, and I end up and you're just touching the walls, going, man, this is so cool. I end up in what they would have been the equivalent of a toilet, and it's got the hole where the seat is. The hole just drops down the side of a cliff. So I'm thinking, I hate to be the poor bastard down the bottom there, but I'm thinking, I'm in a 1,000-year-old toilet. This is where they went for a shit. This is fucking amazing. And you look around and you think, there's so much history here.
So much history.
You're like, I'm about to contribute to history right now.
Yeah.
I'm like
somewhat of a historian myself.
I need to go. I do need to go. Yeah.
I'm somewhat of somebody's having dinner, talking about dinner and talking about like a church they saw. And you're like, one time I took a shit.
In a 1,000-year-old toilet.
1,000-year-old toilet, if you're,
Yeah.
But
if you're an archaeologist, I'm your man.
Yeah. We've got the same thing here, though. Like, we can go to a shopping mall and I've been with my job. I've been around the world in different countries, and the shopping malls to me all look the same. Like, sorry to all the shopping mall people out there and fans and so forth. But they all look the fucking same to me, yeah. And I know in the US and Canada, you guys do. It's always bigger. Hey, bigger is best.
They get pretty big.
I'm sure whatever you got in Canada and the US is going to be bigger than what they got in Italy anyway. So I can, you're not going to get impressed by that. You want to go and see the real thing, the Colosseum. You want to see where these guys were getting chased by lions and chariots and spilling blood.
Talking about all shopping malls the same. Talking about Belarus. When I was in Belarus, one of the big, in 2017, the big thing I was most shocked about was how kind of semi-normal it felt. I don't know what kind of expectations I had, but then you get there and you see teenage high school kids clustered, dressed like, you know, cool. And like at the mall, you go to the mall and you see them, like they're all laughing and doing and you're like, they're fucking kids. Like this is just like back at home at the mall hanging out, and you're in the, you know, you walk my storefronts and they got like mannequins with the latest fashions. You go to, it's like, this is, I don't know what I expected. Yeah, it's a shopping mall. It is what it is. Like people are the same everywhere. Like you build certain things up in your head, but when you get there, you're like, people are people, right? There's like a lot of, you have more in common with this is what I liked. You have more in common with people than you think, right? You're not like at the core when you actually sit down and get to know them. There's a lot in common that you have, but there are little things that are like a little different. Like there was some reminders, I saw tanks in the street, not very often, but you would like once there was tanks and you're like, okay, well that's different. And you, every now and then you could see a military person in military fatigues. That's a little different, but it wasn't common. It wasn't like all over the streets or something. But yeah, man, that's one of the biggest things that like with what I'm able to do in terms of the commentary, like I love like powerlifting and the actual job itself, but it's like traveling and seeing the world, man. And here's the craziest thing. So this is like obviously just a part-time gig. You're doing it once a year for the IPF World Championships. But for the first time when I was on a plane and about to fly out to commentate, and the first time I ever commentated, it's the craziest shit. This will never happen again because the door is closed behind me after this happened, not because of anything I did, but I just reached out to Gaston, who's the IPF president, directly and said, hey. Is that a
thing? Does anyone do that?
Yeah, well, I mean, now it's probably more difficult, but I did. And I was like, I want to become a member of your media team and I have a bunch of ideas. And here's a bunch of, I gave him like an elevator pitch in an email. Like God knows even if you read it all, but and then he just emailed the one lady who was in charge of the media team saying, this is Ryan, and he's going to be joining the media team. I'm like, holy shit, I'm on the fucking IPF media team now. And this is when I was starting King of the Lifts. And I had these ideas for social media. And I was starting King of Lifts, and I started taking on the IPF media page. And so the ideas I had, like obviously ended up working, right? So like King of the Lifts started taking off and like, they were like, okay, fuck, this is working. And they were appreciative, like Ryan, wow, it worked out for him. But then I remember early goings, like a few months in, I'm in the chain of emails internally with the IPF, which is a massive global body. And I'm like, holy fuck, man, this sounds like, am I even over my head? What the hell am I doing right now? And you're like, you get imposter syndrome real quick. Where you're like, what am I doing reading these emails? And then an email comes in and they're like, all right, we're booking people for the commentary for the live stream. And they'll get like, you see clips and there's like over 1 million views and shit like that. And it's live, right? Damn. So you can't fuck up or say fuck. And I put in the email, I'm like, I'd like to hop on there if I may. And they just shot back. All right, cool. Ryan slotted and he went out and they're going through like that. And I was like, holy shit, they're not vetting me. I mean, I've never done this before. Yeah. Not at a local level, not on Canadian nationals, period. At the time, had never commentated before in my life. Wow. And they're like, okay, we got Ryan and blah, blah, blah. So I'm like, all right. So they fucking book my flights. They book my hotels and they're like, okay, we're going to fly you in. Here's the itinerary. We're going to do some interviews. Here's the athlete interviews you're going to handle. We go live on. And I'm like, what the fuck?
What have I just done?
I'm like, I don't know what I'm doing, bro. I just like, this is like a movie where some guy, those comedy movies, some guy talked his way in on something. And then, so I'm on a plane and I'm about to go. And my buddy's like, what are you doing right now? What do you mean you got like 2 weeks off work? It's like a 2-week long event every day, like 6 hours a day for 2 weeks straight. And I'm like, they're like, what are you, us? I go, I guess I'm a professional sports broadcaster now. They're like, since when? Yeah. What do you fucking mean? Since when? I'm like, I just fucking threw an email out there, bro. I don't know, man. I'm riding this wave. I don't know what's going to happen. So it's wild, man. Like just flying. So ever since things worked out okay. And then,
you got called out at one point though, eh? You got asked by someone that you were about to commentate with. Did you get asked? Did he say to you, you've done this before, brother? You've done this before? And you had to go through this. Did you have to come clean them?
No, wait, yo, that's right. Okay. Yes. So what happened so I fly in.
Research, Jackson.
Like,
research.
Yeah, this is it.
Research.
This is Greg does
My man. My man knows what he's. My man. So this is episode 30 right now. You know, you're a wily veteran. This is an episode 2. So I'm with like the IPF media crew, and these guys are like from all over the world. And I'm definitely nervous as shit, but I'm trying to act confident and be normal, act cool, act like you're supposed to be here. You know what I mean? Don't act. So we're all out.
Yep. That's right. Yeah. Here. Makeup. Come on.
That's your makeup. Where's your makeup? Where's makeup? Makeup.
I need a dab.
12:00 in the morning.
That's right. I need to dab my forehead. So we're out getting groceries, and we haven't gone on the air yet. This is like the first, because we're going to be there for a couple of weeks, and we're waiting in line. And Martin Flett, who was he doesn't do it now, but previously, this was actually the last IPF Worlds he would do, 2016, and previously he was like the main lead. And we're waiting in line. He's like, so like, tell me a little bit about you, because this is the first time I see you on the team. Like, so how many have you done? Do you like are you the color commentary, which is like the co, or do you do the lead? Do you prefer doing the lead? Do you want to go back and forth doing the lead and co and switch up on the roles? And there are like specific roles you have to do and tasks you do per role. Like there's like reasons why he's asking. And
did you know this beforehand, or were you just going?
Dog, I'm like,
I'm easy, brother. I'm easy. Yeah.
Listen, I'm easy. Can you imagine? That was my bullshit answer. I'm easy. Whatever. I'm easy. No, I was. That's good. That's the good answer right there. Whatever. What do you feel? But I was like,
son. That's the way you said.
I'm like, I'm about to get. Well, sure shit wasn't going to take the lead. So I was like, I'm about to get exposed right fucking now. Like, I don't know how to answer. I don't even know what he's asking me. I don't know what these roles entail. So I just came clean. And I was like, man, I'm going to be honest, man. I've never done this before. He goes, what the fuck do you mean, man? We're going live tomorrow, son. This is the world's watching. This isn't the locals. And I'm like, fuck, man.
I ain't done the locals either.
I haven't done a local show neither, man. They'd probably be better qualified. I was like, well, they'll be better qualified if you got someone who did the local. So I was like, oh. And he's like, all right. It's okay. So Martin Flett, I'll forever be indebted to him. He's like, we stayed up that night, had a couple of drinks, and he just broke it down to me, like the roles, what you do, the pacing of everything to do with commentary. And he's like, listen, it's more prevalent now. Here's one of the things I notice sometimes when I hear people do commentary, like a lifter, they'll approach it like they're doing a podcast. But if you listen to live sports, it is nothing like a podcast. Don't get too loose. Don't get too, like, it's not that though, right? Or like it's not like social media. It's not like YouTube. It's not like, so some people think, like, we bring in lifters sometimes to do co, and they don't understand. So like the lead anyways, some of the key points of your job, every single time a lifter hits the platform, you have to say his name, the weight, her name, the weight. Maybe even throw up to what nation she represents. And that's important to keep that flow. Then you kick it over to the co-commentary, and you're like, what do you think? Okay, well, and you'll pull up some of the stats, if this is a world whatever, right? If this is a world record she's going for, or he's going for, and you go back and forth the co-commentary, throw it back to what's happening, and you have to say what you're seeing. And then other people sometimes as well want to approach it as like it's not a seminar either. Like it's not a squat seminar. So some people want to flex on, like when you have that's why it's okay to have a co-commentary. If they're a lifter, they don't necessarily know. It's not a broadcasting. So they'll either get a little too loose, want to treat it like a podcast, have conversation, but they don't realize you as the lead have to hit certain notes. You have to throw down to your sponsors. I want to take a quick thank you to our sponsors, Alico, SBD. And like you get in that voice too. You have to be professional, and you have jobs to do, and they aren't completely aware. And then sometimes as well, they want to get into, if you have like a coach on, and be like, well, this is what she needs to do.
Yeah.
All right, which is okay a little bit, because you do need to explain, bring the viewer along, but far more, you don't want to get into a seminar because that's not entertaining for even powerlifters to a large extent. Not many people watch seminars, but far more important is storylines. So when you get too loose, you lose storylines, and you want a story developing. So far more important is if you actually understand powerlifting and handling the rules and be like, well, that's really interesting. They just changed her opener for the deadlift. Now, why she probably did that? On the subtotal, she's slightly behind. She lost her last squat, missed her last bench, lowered the opening deadlift. She needs that opening deadlift. However, now she's going to be behind. And the person in a lead now sees where her dead is. That's very interesting. They did that move. And then when they get into the third deadlifts, that's a placeholder deadlift right now. Now I'm looking for Team New Zealand to likely change that last deadlift. Now pay attention, and you have to bring along the storyline. You can't just say, this is the stuff that, when you watch some streams, they don't do stuff. Like they don't even know to do stuff. So you'll sometimes get people to sit down in there and they're not saying the overall picture. They're not showing, or if you have a storyline, if the battle isn't intense, but a storyline could prevail. So it's like, look at this lady has come back from a serious injury and it's been hampering her. And then there's a payoff. You're building it up for a payoff. You need payoffs. So when you see certain things happening or someone's about to bomb, you're like, wow, this is all in. This is make or break. This last attempt. If they don't hit this, and then you could hear a pin drop. And you set them up. So if they hit it, you're like, oh, back in the game. Here we go. And you're excited. And people are like, I'm fucking invested. I hope she does well. Or if they miss, that's okay. You set them up for a failure. That's sports. So it's like heartbreaking, truly heartbreaking to see at the Worlds. But she will be back. And this is why and you build it so when the next person comes up, you built that. That's a payoff for the next person. And this is how you build. Far more important than give me the fucking squat seminar. Far more important than give me your podcast. I'm a cool, funny guy. Far more important than a lot of that shit is actual sports broadcasting. And then, so I actually studied it and started like I know I got off to like Martin Flett told me a lot of this. And then I was like, after the first Worlds, I'm like, I got to keep doing better. I got to take this more and more serious. I started being like, what style of commentary is closest to powerlifting? And for me, I looked at it, it was baseball. Because baseball, a guy walks up to the plate, just like the action stops, just like someone comes up to the platform, and then they have the chance. And then and it's 1, 2, 3 strikes, just like, and then the next person comes up and they have their chance. And then the next person comes up, and based off of how they do, there's an accumulation of on their scorecard, if they're hitting home run singles. And based on if you got your squat or bench or whatever, there's an accumulation towards your total. And so I started catching the rhythm and the pacing of it. You can't oversell every single hit because then no hit, every hit's meaningless.
I was going to say, it's lucky you didn't take off your commentating style from horse racing.
Just constant action. Yeah.
That's it, my man.
Logically, I open it. Yeah.
No, it's I mean, you gotta pace yourself. That's another thing Martin said. He's like, look, you want to sell off the payoffs, but you're setting up the payoffs. You don't want this. Some of these sessions are 3 hours long, my man. You don't fucking try to keep hype for 3 hours. By the end, people are like, I'm not invested anymore, bro. You
hyped up his opening squat, and then he ended up squatting 30 kilos more. I'm not sold.
That's why. Right. That's where you have the opportunity during those times to start setting up a little background. Okay, well, this gentleman from Germany, this is he's a German champion. Give it a little background and then see how it develops. And if he's in the mix, all right, well, then you get in on it. So yeah, man, I mean, it's been a trip, and it's funny how that's why I would tell anybody like you guys, you're finding out the podcast, just go hop in there if possible. You'll figure it out. Trust. I've learned to trust myself. You'll rise to the occasion, or some people don't. Yeah. Sometimes you don't, but then you could be like, well, fuck it, I gave it a go. 100%. I'm sure some people other were like, hey, guy, I tried a couple things. It doesn't always work out. I got you, right? Yeah, but at the fair, and it's happened for me. Things haven't always worked out for me, but you're not going to know unless you throw your hat in the ring, and eventually you're going to find a couple things. You're like, shit, here we go. 5 years later, we're still in the mix, and it's fun, man. And I'm getting better, and I feel comfortable now. I've come a long way from that guy who got confronted at the grocery store, like, you don't know what you're doing, or do you? I've done this before. You're a fucking phony. How did you get phony? You fucking phony. But it's funny how since I've done that, they've gotten like way tighter on the commentary now. Like I can't even for co-commentary. If I like lifters ask, like, can I be a co-commentary? They're like, not even then. Like we have to know the person. They're way tight. They've gotten tighter. Let alone some guy shoots an email and all of a sudden he's the fucking lead.
So what
those days are gone.
What you're saying is that you wouldn't get in now.
I wouldn't have. Timing is everything, man. That's why I think about it now. I'm like, holy shit, did I get in on the right time? Because this would never have happened. But actually,
so he gets in and then he fucking sets up all these things so no one else can get in.
No one else can get in.
That's right. I pulled that ladder up behind me, gentlemen. That's another fucking tip I got to give you. Pull up the fucking ladder. Close the door. Slam that door shut. Throw locks on that door.
Lock the hatch.
But let's be fair though, because you have not come in like completely green ash. So you've got a bit of a history. You got a bit of a history being in front of the camera, a bit of media training. You know, you're a little bit of a star in Canada. Not
a star, but media training. It wasn't a star. No, it was. I was on a reality TV show for a season. Did like Canada's Got Talent, and did like I did like media training, and it was definitely not a star. It's weird. Like to be on a TV show, it's fucking weird to even say that because it's
many people can say. Not many people can say.
Well, that's true. It was bizarre as shit, but it wasn't. Yeah, man. That's another thing that's another time where I just literally, I don't know what possessed me, but I shot out 300 emails with like the same type of spiel and with like a little bit of a package of who I am. And to 300 TV producers. And I Googled every single one. I got out an Excel spreadsheet and Googled every single TV producer, not the broadcasters, but the production company. I even Googled who makes these shows. If you Google the broadcaster, they don't give a fuck. It's the TV production companies that do it. And they're much smaller, which means they're easy. If you get someone's name, they'll actually read your email. Or you Google like one of the major broadcasters, you're never going to get anybody. So 300 and put together these packages and shot out 300 emails and personalized some of them the whole nine. And I got like just, hey, this is what I'm doing. I know you do reality TV, and I got 298 no's. And sometimes not even a no. You just don't get anything. And 2 times I got back. One of them, I ended up getting auditions. They were like auditioned me, and we're just fucking nervous. Another moment we're like, what the fuck am I auditioning? I'm not an actor or whatever. And then and I ended up getting on a reality TV show. So they're paying me, and it's fucking bizarre. And I'm Pack Lapadat on the reality TV show. I'm me, but I'm not me. I'm like a hyper version of me because reality TV is not real. And then the other one was Canada's Got Talent. And they were like, come in. I sent them a video of me pulling a plane. And I do like feats of strength for like sick kids hospitals. I would go and like talk to like cancer camp for kids. Thank you. Yeah, it was fucking, I did a summer where I was pulling school buses at cancer camp for kids, raising money and talking to the kids. And holy smokes, man, like the things you would see at some of these camps is absolutely like, you'll never forget it. And some things are really tough to digest. And, yeah, anyways, we're about to have a CC Ingram moment if we go.
Yeah.
Be careful, gentlemen. I'm about to test your podcasting skills right now. We're going to get deep.
Go down that path, eh? Actually, I did want to ask, because when I heard you say that on the other podcast, I'm thinking, where does that come from? Like, if you're happy to talk about it, is something in the past? Absolutely, yeah. So it was at one point I was dating. So when I was younger, just like most kids, I wanted to I was super into superheroes and shit like that, right? And me and my buddy would like do superhero training in the backyards and shit like that. Be like, we're gonna be superheroes someday. Right. That's right.
That's right. We kind of still do. Who's kidding who? But so when you get older, whatever the shit, you put that aside. It's not realistic. You're not gonna so when you're young, you're like, I'm gonna have super strength and use my strength to help people. Then you get older and you're like when you're a kid, I've you have nieces, nephews, they for real believe, they get really into that shit. Like they're all in by it. When you get older, you get jaded and you're like, isn't that cute? But miracles don't happen. That shit's not real. So you let that go. And then when I was like in my 20s, for a long time, man, I went through that period in my early 20s. I wasn't doing too much, just partying on weekends and wasn't super focused. And then somebody that was super close to me, I was dating a girl and her younger brother, she was the girl next door. I knew her my whole life. And so I knew her dad and her family my whole life. I knew her younger brother was like not like a sibling, but like a family too. And like me and her lived together the whole nine. So her younger brother had a son and I was Uncle Ryan. And the dad, her younger brother, we're talking, he's like early 20s, got sick for cancer out of nowhere. I was working at a hospital and we broke up like 3 months beforehand. And I seen her in the hospital and she looked disheveled. I'm like, what the fuck? She's in her 20s. I'm like, hey, how's it going? You all right? And she's like totally disheveled. And she's like, Jacob's here. And Jacob's her younger brother. I'm like, what's Jacob doing? He's upstairs and he's in the ICU. And I'm like, ICU? What happened? And she's like, I don't know what the hell's going on. She's like, we've been here. They're running tests. He went in on a Friday. And by Saturday, they're telling their parents, Jacob's going to die within 24 hours and you're going to have to say goodbye.
Oh, wow.
And she's telling me this like face to face. And I'm like, I had nothing. I had not a fucking word for her. And I was like, and the reason why she was on the floor I was on is I found out she was looking for me because she wanted me to say something. She thought I would be able to give her something because I was usually that guy. And that fucking rattled the shit out of me. Like afterwards I realized. And then, so I'm there with the family and you see it happen to a young guy and he passes. And you see his son who's 6 and doesn't understand what the hell's going on. And you're trying to explain you're never going to see your dad again. And it's like, man, that was hard. That was really, really, really hard. And then afterwards, so I'm just like a zombie throughout this moment, right? And you're just trying to process it. So afterwards, everyone goes home and the dad says to me, we want you to give the eulogy. And I'm like, man, and I'm like, me? And he's like, well, who else? And I'm like, I was put on the spot before and I didn't have the words, man. I'm thinking I can't do this. I'm going to let you guys down. She came to see me for some strength. I'm that guy. And I didn't have shit. And I'm like, holy fuck, I was up all goddamn night thinking about this. And then, so I was like, I got to step up to the plate here. If people are looking at you like this, in times of people's darkest hours, you show strength and you hit the right words, you can put things in perspective. And I put this fucking thing together. And I was in the washroom and I was in bad shape. Walked out in front of everybody, everybody his age, his parents that are my age now, and his son. And his son was looking at me and I gave that speech. And that's when my lip was shaking, but I didn't cry. And people my boy was watching. He's like, fuck man, I almost cried 3 times. But I was like, 6 isn't crying. I'm not crying. That's a strong man right there. And then afterwards, the dad coming up to me, shaking my hand. And he had a tears in his eyes. He's like, I knew it was going to be you. I knew you'd do us and I was like, fuck me. So then I realized, you double back to when you thought when you were a kid and how you weren't jaded yet and how you believed. So one day I'm with Jacob's son, who's my nephew, and he's in the back seat. And I'm I was kicking around ideas I wanted to do. And I was I told my parents, I told buddies, I think I want to start pulling school buses, pulling planes, flipping cars, and raising money for kids who are fighting cancer and some scary shit like that. And I'm going to fucking show up and I'm going to tell them, and they believe that they're not jaded. And I'm going to look them in the eye and I'm going to tell them, I know you're facing scary, but if a 200-pound man can pull a 150,000-pound plane, who can tell you what's impossible? Keep fighting, keep believing, like it's, and give them that belief that somebody needs it. It's scary. And then I'll hype them up like that. I'd be like, do you guys believe? And they'll be like, yeah. And I'm like, do you guys believe? And I'm like, because I'm not going to be able to do this all by alone. So you hype them up and be like, let's get after this then. So I remember this was my plan. I told everybody, man. I told like my friends, my family, my parents, all the adults were like, are you sure about this? Like, can you even pull a fucking plane? Like,
is this going to be like the IPF story where you put a plane, brother? Have you put a plane before? No, man. First time.
It's called out by some 8-year-old.
There is. Listen. There is. I do got that. That did happen. But I'll tell you one sec. So I'm in the car. And so everybody's like, dog, don't bite off more than you could chew because you might end up in a bad space, right? So I have my nephew in the back seat, and I'm telling him like, your Uncle Ryan, I'm going to do this. And I think I'm going to pull a bus and I'm going to pull planes and I'm going to raise money for kids who got sick like your dad. And the first person who didn't question, he was taking it in. And I'm like, what do you think? And he's like, I think you could do this. And I was like, fucking right, I can, man. And I was like, I needed that, bro. Because even my mom was like, you know what? And I'm like, that's kids, man. The first person to believe was a 6-year-old. And he's like, I think you could do this, man. So I was like, fuck, man, that's it. So like, it helps me. And so I like, holy shit, talk about moments, throwing yourself in moments. I like the first school bus I pulled ended up being national news. I woke up, this is 2008, before like social media was taken off. I woke up in the morning, I see newspapers there and shit. And my boy I'm on one side of Canada. Canada's a large country. And then my boy at the other side of Canada in BC is reading about me in a newspaper. So he calls me. He's like, what the fuck did you do yesterday? I'm like, what do you mean? He's like, dude, you're in the news. I was like, what? And I'm like, turn on the TV. I'm reading a newspaper. I'm like, holy shit, what am I doing? I don't know what I'm doing. I don't know what the fuck. And they're like, headlines, something way over the top, like superheroes are real. And I'm like, what the fuck is going on right now? And I'm like, wow. And I was telling the kids, like, superheroes are real. And it's not just me, it's you. You could do it. I'm giving them these speeches, right? Because I was like, the thing wasn't like, it's me that's special. It's like, no, you guys, I was like you. This is possible, whatever. So yeah, man, that's like how I started, ended up doing like those feats of strength. And then the ball starts rolling from there in terms of, after a while, the raising money for the sick kids, like that's how I ended up doing the raising money for sick kids and pulling planes, flipping cars. So when I moved on to doing like the reality TV show and shit like that, I was Pack Lapadat, the powerlifter and strongman. And they had all of this footage of me like pulling planes, flipping cars. And when I went to Canada's Got Talent, they seen the video of me pulling a plane and they're like, you're in. So it was, dude, it was pretty crazy. I'll tell you about the plane. They freaking told me, like, I told them this is going to be national TV live. And they're like, yeah. And I was like, this is one of the times because I've done a bunch of events by then. And I'm like, listen to me. This is a Boeing 747.
Give me a bit of a head start.
Whoa.
There's a Boeing 747.
747.
They're like, yeah, it's a Boeing 747.
Damn, you didn't like start with a Cessna or something? You didn't start with like a single engine?
Well, I've been doing buses.
Give me the biggest plane you got.
I've been doing buses, and I was like, we're going to go bigger this time. I got bold. And I was like, is like, you have to give me a practice pull in private to let me know I could do this so I don't fail these kids live on TV and totally... People will never see me again. I'll never show my face. Like I'm telling these kids all these things, like believe and blah, blah, blah. And then if I show up and fail, like I got it, you can't. And they're like, we'll get you a private poll. No media. Don't worry. I'm like, thank you. But it has to happen. They're like, yes, it'll happen.
Because that's going to look pretty silly. Yeah, you try to pull a plane. You're just like, rolling around on the tarmac there, trying to pull yourself up along the tarmac.
My dude, it didn't happen. Fucking storms every goddamn day. There's a storm, And you're not allowed on the tarmac. I'm like, I'm good. There's no thunder. And they're like, can't, because it's rules, it's bylaws. None of us are allowed on the tarmac. And they're like, no practice pull. And I'm like, so what are we talking about? Well, the event's got to go because we have a lot of sponsors. Are you going to do it? I'm like,
oh, you had no practice.
Yes, I'm like, fuck, man.
It's a bit of pressure.
I guess. So I showed up and it's still kind of stormy. And I'm like, okay. I'm like this is my Chad Wesley Smith. I'm like, they're like, Ryan, it's stormy. And I go, excuse me, pardon me, you call me six-pack. No, I'm joking. I didn't
did you?
Can you believe that? No, I didn't do that. But and I love that Jackson was like, he's filling it in. He's with me. He knows. But I'm like, I had my Chad Wesley Smith moment where I'm like, oh, it's storming. We're not going to be able to do it. And I'm like, there's my out, because I'm going to fucking let these kids down and live on TV, and I'll never live down, and I'll beat the shit out of myself for doing this, for not being able to pull it, because I never had the practice pull. So I felt like, oh, thank God, there's a storm. This is literally actually, thank God, like there's a storm out. This is divine intervention at this point. And I'm like, saved by the storm. We're not going to be able to do this pull live on TV, because I didn't know I could pull it. We didn't do the practice pull. And then, fuck me, Greg. Fuck me, Jackson. The skies parted. And I'm like, no, God, no, please don't do this.
A beam of light comes down.
A beam of light comes down. I'm like, what are you doing?
They're like, he's Superman. He's got heat vision. He's like melting the rain. He really is a superhero.
and then the event coordinator's like, the event coordinators turn to the media and they're like, this is perfect. I'm like, yeah, this is perfect. And I'm thinking in my head, oh, fuck me. Oh, no. So they're like, strap them in. And I'm like, fuck. So I have pictures. I'll send you guys the pictures. The skies look so goddamn heavy. Like they're about to like, I just need some spittle. I'm like, look at guys, the skies look pretty dark. They're like all week. You're like, I don't care if it's raining. Let me give a practice pull. But if the skies are even heavy today, you're starting to bitch up a little bit. I'm like, no, I'm not bitching up. Well, let's do this. So anyways, long story short, I ended up pulling this thing, like fighting for every fucking inch. But before it happened, I grabbed the microphone. I was scared shitless. And I just came up off the top of my head. I told these kids, and this is almost like I almost set myself up a cop out, but it actually ended up being poetic for what these kids are facing. I said, listen, I don't know if I could pull this plane. I was told I was going to get a practice pull. There was no practice pull. I don't know if I could do this. I might strap in, and this might not happen today. But you are going to watch me strap in, and I guarantee you I will fight for every inch. Oof. I don't know if I'm going to make it to the 30 feet because they have 30 feet marked off. That's what the plan was. It's like a race against gravity, and you pull it 30 feet. I was like, I don't know if I'm going to get to 30 feet. I don't know if I'm going to get 3 feet. But I promise you I will fight for every inch. Because when we add up the inches, that's going to make the difference. I'm taking Al Pacino over here. That's going to make the difference. And I'll go, that's why just keep fighting for your inch. And these kids are like, we're going to fight for these inches. And I'm like, all right, strap me fucking in. And so they strap me in the hardest, and I'm fighting for these fucking inches. And that's like, it's almost like a pep talk that I needed. And the crowd now, instead of setting themselves up for the payoff is when I cross the finish line, they're just like, let's watch this guy fight. Let's watch this guy fight for these inches. And inch by inch, man, the knees are shaking, and you can't feel your legs. You feel like you're going to throw up. And then eventually I see below, and I think like I'm nowhere close to the finish line, and I'm struggling. My buddy's like, keep going. And I'm like, I don't feel like this thing's moving. It's happening so slowly, and you're under so much duress. It doesn't feel like it's moving though, but you actually are. But so little that you're like, I can't fucking keep this up. I feel like I'm doing an insane like walkout with a squat on my back, and I'm like just holding. I'm like, how fucking long can I hold the line? And you hear the crowd. You hear the crowd going, pull, keep going. It's close. And you're like, fuck. You're just going. And when I finally crossed that finish line, I saw the finish line. I'm like, how the fuck did I get to the finish line? There's no way. And I stood up, and I'm like, my legs are shaking, and I'm like, you feel like you're gonna like vomit. Like you're way beyond overexerted. Some little old lady steps forward in the crowd, sees me, and could tell by the look on my face that I'm like, I'm there. And she gives me a hug and holds me. And like, I don't know this lady, but we just had a moment. And people start snapping pictures of me and this lady. And I'm like, holy fuck, I need to lay down for like a week. The anxiety and then like the fight. And then afterwards, I'm like, I can't fucking believe it happened. And I did it. And my one buddy who's like a videographer who's videoing. He's like, I'm going to be honest with you, man. I thought this was the time. This is the time you bit off too much. This is the time you finally bit off too much, you son of a bitch. And I'm like, holy shit, it happened. But yeah.
Because what does the 747 weigh?
It depends. So this one, it's over 100,000 pounds. I did my research, man. I purposely got a cargo plane, so the inside doesn't have all the seats, all the like things to actually house people, so that can strip like thousands of pounds. And then I did like a lot. And
there you go, folks. Inside info.
Yeah. Inside info.
Pull a plane.
Pull a plane. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah,
this is going to come in useful.
Not real.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
This is going to come in useful when next time you guys are pulling planes for anyone listening. And I was also like, I knew a plane can have thousands of pounds worth of gas in it.
Yeah.
Or kilos, sorry. So I'm like, make sure the gas, like we want a cargo plane, we want no gas if possible. And then also the tires have to be inflated, have to be overinflated. You know how if you're a wheelbarrow, whatever, if even a wheelbarrow's not properly inflated, you're like, fuck me, this got a lot heavier. And you're like, I got to put some gas in there. I told them like, I want these tires ready to bust, gentlemen. Like, you didn't give me my practice pull. All right. Help me out here. Like, okay. I hate to be a diva right now, but I'm kind of stressed out. Kind of fucking stressed. I haven't slept in a week. I mean, we did all those. So the video ends up getting me on Canada's Got Talent. And then that's like a fucking over 1 million people. And they went bonkers. I was like, they made certain acts like, welcome back. This is more bullshit. Here's the reality TV is not real for you. Okay. They already knew that they wanted me in. So they put me in the lineup. Like here's a Toronto showcase. They put me in the lineup and I was never in the lineup. And then they start like interviewing me or pulling me out of the lineup, showing me in the lineup, and people are like, that guy wasn't there in the lineup. And anyone in the lineup's like, fuck me, is this rigged? Like, what's going on here? They could still, as it's told to me, they could still audition. It's just if they come to Toronto, the Toronto editions, they want it like a sure thing that we have a couple people we know for sure are going to work out. We're dumping millions of dollars for the Toronto showcase. If everybody's a dud, you can't go to the major broadcast and make, sorry, we didn't find anyone really good in Toronto. They're like, no, we put $5 million into that fucking episode. We want at least 5 acts that we can work with on TV. So they stack the deck. Right. So they stacked the deck. So they're like, okay, we scouted. We got Pack Lapadat because I emailed the TV producers. I'm like, take a look at me pulling the planes, dramatic and shit. And they're like, holy shit, this guy's good on TV. So that's part of the role how you get on Canada's Got Talent. Made it through on Canada's Got Talent and got yeses. And then the TV producers on America's Got Talent saw it. And I'm not American, homie. But so it's rigged as shit. I shouldn't be here. And they're like, come down to the New Jersey auditions and we want you to audition. And they did the exact same thing. And they plunked me in the lineup of people auditioning, and Nick Cannon comes, but you guys know Nick Cannon?
Yeah.
Comes in the host, and he comes over, and it's totally rigged. He's like, hey, you, and I already know he's going to come and talk to me. And then me and Nick Cannon are like squatting kids and throwing them on the back. Nick Cannon, I squatted like a normal sized person. He goes and grabs a kid. It's a funny, cute moment me and Nick Cannon have. And people watching again are like, hold the phone, man. This guy got planted into the lineup. He wasn't here this whole time. But it's like, it is what it is. And they didn't even know I'm not even American. And every single person that hit the stage, they ask him, what's your name? Where you from? What's your name? Where you from? Hey, my name's Jackson. I'm from, New York. Hey, my name's Greg. I'm from LA. Hey, my name's Sixpack. They'd said, what's your name? They didn't ask me where I'm from. Because they knew where I'm from.
They knew. Eh?
I'm not even American, man. I'm not going to say.
Yeah.
So
where are you from? Toronto.
I'm a ringer. I'm a ringer, gentlemen.
Yeah.
So this is like Heidi Klum, Howard Stern. Who else was on this one? Howard Stern, Heidi Klum, dude with the ball, Howie Mandel.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
And there was another one. And I was squatting a bleacher full of people, and they were on the bleacher. And I got my yeses and continued on in the event. But they don't show me ever getting like axed or whatever or going forward. They just wanted to stack the deck again for that particular episode. I served my purpose. And then high five, you're on your way. And I'm not even American, man. There's absolutely no way I could have moved forward anyways. But it was a fucking hell of an experience. And I remember the TV producers were like, listen to me. When you go out there, you're here because you're doing a strongman act. They're like, my biggest advice for you, don't try to be funny. Don't try to stay in your lane. Because they like you as a strongman act. But if you throw out a joke and it bombs, Howard Stern, Howie Mandel, they're gonna light you up. Like this can go either way.
Shreds, yeah.
They'll rip you to shreds. Yeah, this will go either way. You know what's good viewing? A fucking bomb, or a fucking, or even better, a bomb, or you kill it. She's like, you're here because we already know what you do and we like you. So just do what you do and stay in your lane. And so I was like, I'm going to keep my goddamn mouth shut. And I'm not trying to be funny. I'm not trying to be nothing. And I just did my thing and everything was fine. But yeah, man.
What was your follow-up act? You did the bleacher full of people out. What did you have anything else planned? Like you can't keep doing the bleacher week after week after week. Everyone's going to start going, yeah, we've seen that, brother. What else you got?
For Canada's Got Talent, it was so my audition, the first audition was Pulling the Plane, then it was the bleacher, then I made it to, I was a quarterfinalist by then, and I got cut as a quarterfinalist, and the episode I got cut was actually not a performance episode. It's one of those episodes that shows everybody in the green room, like they call it the tank, and you're saying your story, and I'm talking about visiting sick kids' hospitals, whatever, and they get to know you, and you're talking to other people within who's also on there. And then I got eventually axed by, it was Martin Short who axed me. So I only had two, and what I would have kept doing, I was fucking, man, I was going to go all out. I was like, look, I want the stage set up, and I was going to make it like a series of strongman events, but it was going to be set up in almost like a storytelling why I'm doing these strongman events. And I was going to go all in, man. But didn't make it that far, and I don't know if it would have worked anyway, so maybe it's for the best, right? But
it makes for better viewing than probably doing the powerlifting moves that way.
Oh, dude, nobody would have given a shit. That's right. That's where, like, when I was telling my buddies who are into powerlifting, like, man, I'm on Canada's Got Talent. I'm on America's Got Talent. They're like, what are you gonna do? Squat? Like,
nobody cares about no damn squat, brother.
They're like, we're powerlifters, and we wouldn't really give a shit. Like, what's entertaining? These people don't. What are you gonna do? I'm like, I got ideas. So that's where, like, the squatting the bleacher full of people, you could use it on a ramp, so you're not taking the full load all at once. They see a bunch of people on the bleacher going up and down, and it looks very dramatic. And I got cheerleaders from the football team to be like, and they have their pom-poms. I'm like, cheer and go, whoa, exaggerated. And they're like, man, I know, man, I'm a showman. I'm like, help me out here. So they were like exaggerating the movements. Whoa. Every time you did a squat. So it's really, the bleachers are rattling. And because of cheerleaders with pom-poms, you visually see this shit flying up and down in the air. And it's like, holy shit, I can't believe a man's doing that. So it's all in presentation, right? So eventually I get axed anyways. And one of the people on it was the host. Now, Canada's Got Talent, the person who ended up winning, I don't even remember who it was, but like nobody on Canada's Got Talent ended up doing like a fucking thing. You go back to your day jobs. Nah, man, we all went back to our day jobs, whatever. The only time afterwards, like a year, within the same year, because I was firing off the same emails to TV producers, and I ended up getting the one TV producer that ended up going on as a reality TV show. They're like, oh shit, Pack Lapadat. He's pretty good on like television and talking and shit. So I ended up auditioning and making it on that reality TV show. And then I went through all that media training you were talking about, where like I'm with TV producers, and this is how you do interviews. This is how you do press junkets, where you're in the room and the press rotates, but you stay there, and you're doing live television. So you like really quickly, you could fumble the ball if you're not. Like, I'm swearing like a sailor here, but you can't. Obviously, you got to watch yourself. I went through all of the media training, so I'm ready. I'm ready, Freddy. And when I was doing some of the press junkets, and they're like flying me around doing press and doing American press and Canadian press. And one of the lady who's the host of Canada's Got Talent is like, that was her. This is her TV show. That's why she's on Canada's Got Talent. So I showed up, and she's like, "Holy shit, you're from Canada's Got Talent." I'm like, "Yeah." She goes, "Yes, we got somebody who ended up doing something." And I'm like, sorry. I mean, it's a reality TV show. She's like, "I don't give a shit. We'll take it." Nobody did nothing after that goddamn show. Like, nobody did nothing. So you're a reality TV show. Fuck it. I'm chalking it up as a success. We found some talent. So I'm like, all right, well, I'm glad to have helped you.
What show is that? What show is that? Is it like The Bachelor or like Big Brother?
Thank you very much, sir. Look at this guy, sweet talking me. Look at this fucking charming young devil over here. Wow. Buy me a drink. Please buy me a drink.
Slow down.
Slow down, stud. You listen, my head is going to be so big after this podcast. But was that The Bachelor? What was that? This guy, he's good. You're good, You're good.
You're all right.
You're all right. You're good. You know what? You guys are going to do okay. You guys are going to do okay in showbiz.
Butter up the guest.
That's right. It was a reality TV show. So this is at the time, this is like 10 years ago. This is at a time when, do you guys remember when like there was a lot of YouTube channels with like, epic meal time, like epic meals,
yeah,
like huge meal. It was crazy popular. And they had like millions.
Lasagnas and
right. Epic meal time. And then, so the TV producers for this show wanted to capitalize by doing a travel show that's funny. And we're traveling to like quirky sports events, but not like, I mean, quirky is in like, I mean, some of them, like we did Highland Games wasn't quirky. That's a legit. We did the Highland Games. We did things like there was the Pizza World Championships in Vegas, and there's a convention in Vegas.
Man, sign me up.
Dog. Yeah. Sign me up. People fly in from all over the world, national teams, and they have like not only making pizzas, but like pizza box folding is an event. I'm like, what the shit is this? And some dude folds like 50 pizza boxes in like 30 seconds. I'm like, this is insane. But so they fly us around to these events. So they did it's because you're flying around, so it's travel. And it's funny sports that they wanted four athletes on it, but your athletic background does not help you in the event, which makes it more funny, I guess. I don't fucking know. So they have Pack Lapadat, the strongman. I wanted him to say powerlifter, but 10 years ago, like not like powerlifting's huge now, but it was way smaller then. Like 2010, 2011, powerlifting was like the IPF wasn't even raw. They had no raw division. Like it was way smaller. So they're like, no, you're Pack the strongman. I'm like, okay, well, I don't even compete in strongman. So, I mean, like, fine. But they're like, I'm not, whatever. I'm on a TV show, so I'm not, whatever. Then they had a kickboxer who was also a comedian. So she was told to be lippy and cocky, and she was, man. She lipped the shit out of me because they want us all to talk shit to each other. Yep. And they had a guy who's a basketball player, a college basketball player, who's like 6'4", long, beautiful blonde hair, fucking prick.
I hate people like that. It's like, you Hercules-looking motherfucker.
You Hercules-looking motherfucker. As soon as I saw him in the ring, as soon as I saw him on set, I'm like, you're my fucking opposite, buddy. We're gonna. I actually liked him, but
I'm gonna hop your conditioner.
He probably gets all the fucking shampoo commercials. And then we got a girl who's a gymnast. And do you guys remember the Power Rangers?
Oh yeah. I mean, she was actually heard about it. Yeah.
She was one of the Power Rangers, man. She was one of the Power Rangers, but there was a lot of different. There was the original show, and then there's a million different movies. So, which one of the movies? She wasn't one of the movies. She was like one of the movies that was probably like straight to VHS because there's a time when they had VHS or straight to DVD. She wasn't like one of but she was a Power Ranger in one of the movies.
Wasn't the one that came out like 2 or 3 years ago?
No. This is 10 years ago that we did the show.
One of the original ones. Yep.
She was like, like I'm not huge into like the Power Ranger. I remember when I was a kid, there was Power Rangers. This happened when I was like 30. So in between me being a kid and 30, they probably had a fuckload of Power Ranger projects. Like they had a lot of DVDs.
Oh, they rebooted that motherfucker like 10 times, I reckon.
Million times. She was in one of them, but she could do like legit backflips and she was like crazy athletic. Also, she's a full-on for real actor so here's the thing. They told us we want you to lip each. So we're flying around doing these competitions that we don't actually give a shit about. Like I'm in Alabama and we're doing like frog jumping where you're like the caddy with a frog and you're racing your frog with another frog. We're doing like
a real frog.
Real frogs, man. We're doing weird shit, but it's all about
racing frogs.
We're doing like crazy shit. Like there's like they literally you present chickens and you groom them and present them and then have them judged on your chicken. And then I was like, it's bizarre shit. Sorry, go ahead.
Did you eat them
you say?
They judge you on like presentation and then like.
Sorry, Dave. You lost. You get in the oven.
Can you imagine my chicken loses? They fucking slaughter him in front of me, and I'm like, Jesus, that's a little much. Like I feel terrible because he loses because of me. But they put you in these funny contests that like, so if you just show up, here's where reality TV is not reality. If you just and we also did like the native games up north where like it's full on. This was for real log flipping. Like we were actually that was some real sports stuff. Same with the Highland games. They have some real ones in there, but they want to put you in some situations and they're telling you, listen, if you just go in there and you're just actually cleaning a chicken and putting out the chicken, or you're just actually folding pizza boxes, and then if you lose, here's the other part. Sorry, I didn't tag it in. The loser, so there's 4 hosts, but each episode, it's 2 of the hosts go head to head. But the 4 hosts kind of rotate per episode. So I'm in half the episodes roughly. And they said, like, whoever loses has to eat an epic meal, like a huge, like a massive pizza that's the size of a table. But this is where reality TV comes in, okay? You're not actually going to eat it because nobody can eat it. So they're editing and doing all the rest of it. Another thing is, if you're actually just folding pizza boxes, you don't give a shit. Greg, you wouldn't care if you lost to me folding pizza boxes, but you have to pretend you do. As a matter of fact, if you start falling behind, I'm going to start talking a little bit of shit. And I don't care, but I'm going to, and you have to talk shit back to me. And we go back and forth in like WWE style. The show is called Get Stuffed because if you lose, you get stuffed, but also the get stuffed, like the shit talking. Yeah. And there was a point where we also did the Warrior Dash, which is, are you guys familiar? It's like Tough Mudder, where they had those obstacle course races.
Oh yeah.
So there were some episodes where it was like for real competitive, but we were out there. The Warrior Dash takes like half hour to complete. We were out there like a full day because you go over the same obstacle like 15 times to get all the different angles and like you're exhausted, man. Like they're taking all the shots. Like they have like a camera crew, you're mic'd up and people are like, people who are actually doing the event is like, what the shit is going on right now? Who are these dudes? And I'm like, man, I'm a nobody. I don't know it's just like every other situation I'm talking about where I don't even know what I'm doing here. But yeah. And like at certain points, they will tell you like a semi-script and be like, we want you to say like, you have to say shit. You have to this guy won and you have to dispute his win and say he was cheating. I'm like, how's that going to look? Am I going to look bad? And they're like, don't worry, you're not going to look bad. It'll be okay. So we were like, reality TV is not real, man. Like the thing is like, I was worried at the time when we were recording cause I'm Six-Pack Lapadat on the show. And I'm fucking Six-Pack Lapadat when I talk to these kids at cancer camps. I'm Six-Pack Lapadat with my boys. Like it's not just on the podcast and like before it was my Instagram handle. It was actually my nickname, right? People call me Six-Pack. Hey, Six. So when in my day to day, man, like if I talk like an asshole on this show, like people won't know I'm a character. They're gonna be like, that guy's an asshole. They're like, don't worry, it'll be okay. Yeah. And
because you hear that all the time, eh? You hear with these people have been on a reality TV show and they come across as being, well, they're portrayed as the villain, and this carries through into their day-to-day lives. So people are coming up to them in the street and saying, I fucking hate you. I can't believe what you did to Jimmy on that show. That was just evil, bro. That was just evil, And they're like, whoa, I was told to say that. But people don't care. You're labeled.
Or look at the Warrior Dash race. They said the last leg of the race, you're actually going to race it. But we're going to coin flip and someone's going to get like a 2-minute head start or a minute head start. And so we coin flipped and Josh, the fucking 6'4" long haired prick, he like how it makes Jackson so
No hard feelings.
I hate that guy.
I hate him already.
If
I see him in the street and I'm crossing the street, fuck that guy.
Yeah, exactly.
We're gonna put some comments on this Instagram.
That's right, boys. You're like six-pack senses regards you. Don't forget the Lannisters. Don't forget.
You know what
you know what you do. Yeah. So he ended up getting the lead, and he's booking it and crushing it and whatever. And I ended up like at the end, I end up losing, and you got to act like all disgruntled and shit. But when the show goes to air, and I'm watching it for the first time, and I'm like, fuck, I hope this, like, I end up being okay. Like, I don't end up being a prick on this thing. I ended up coming off well, even though I'm talking shit. They did it in a way that I came off well, and I came off like the sweetheart, because the angle was this was only because the TV producers wanted to edit it this way. I was a strong man with the heart of gold. So when I talk shit, it was more like it came off like I'm just busting chops, whatever. And then there was the girl who was like a kickboxer / comedian. When she talked shit, it came off rough. They actually made it some points where, and this, because editing, this is what you wanted. She was bullying me. She's like half my size, but it makes it the strong man who could crush her, like, and physically, like, you know, why would you be? But she's snarpy and bullying me a little, and I'll jab back because, you know, but still people watching like, fucking, she, goddamn, man, she's getting under my skin, man. She's bullying my man. This is and in real life, me and her are absolutely fine. And I'm watching it, I can tell, like, oh shit, I'm the good guy. And I can tell this, right? Yeah, all right. And in real life, we're all the good guys. There was nothing wrong. We would party afterwards. We would go to the bars and like hang out afterwards. Like me and Josh, who was the Hercules prick. Me and him were actually friends, but we have pictures of us eyeing each other down, and he's 6'4" and 5'9". And he looks like but at the time I was like 220. This is when I was doing the strongman stuff. Now I'm like $190. So I was 100 kilo. And now I'm like, what's 90? Like 87 kilo or whatever. So I was but even though I was thick, he was still dwarfing me, especially if we were up north doing the native games and he's looking down on me. So it looks kind of like he's bullying me, huh? And we'd actually pose pictures for the press like that. So again, it was easy for me to come off as the sweetheart. So then when I would do event, like I was worried about it, I need not be worried. When I would do events at schools, I would go to talk to public schools, and like some of these kids are like 12, 13, 14. And they saw me, like, and they see me, I'm the guy on TV and stuff. And they're like, six pack. They're like, yeah. And they're like, fuck Josh, right?
Yeah. Fuck that guy.
Yeah.
And I'm like, I don't know. I feel bad now. I want to break. What you know, it's like that. What's that code they say wrestlers have? I forget. Like there's a code where you don't break character, even off the show, because if people approach you, you got to stay character. There's a name for it. I forget. Kayfabe. Kayfabe is what wrestlers call it.
Kayfabe,
yeah, they call it kayfabe. Like Hulk Hogan stays Hulk Hogan even if you meet him at a restaurant. Now I think wrestlers don't. Like Stone Cold.
Fake?
What?
Whoa, hang on now.
Here's another bombshell.
What's going on?
First Worlds is cancelled? No, wrestling's
first. Worlds is canceled. Flat Earth, and then
man,
what the fuck?
We're breaking ground here. But yeah, but I had like some of those moments where I'm like, do I pretend Josh is a prick, or do I actually like, you know what, man?
Yeah. You do.
10 years later, I'm like, so anyways, the point is, I was a fucking prick.
Yeah, like, I'm lying. I was a dickhead.
That's what this show's got to be called.
Hair off.
But
we'll get some shout outs to Josh in the comments.
So I think like a lot of that kind of stuff, throwing yourself in these weird moments, probably gave me the balls to reach out to Gaston like that. And probably when I'm on the plane about to fly out, and you, like no matter what, you're still going to have anxiety and be like, holy shit, I think I broke off more than I could chew. But when you've done those kind of things though, and the guy's looking at you like in the grocery store, like, you haven't done this before. We're about to go live on the air and the world's watching, man. Like, what are you doing, man? And I was like, we'll be okay. I've been in not the same scenario, but I've been tested. We'll be okay.
Strengthened, we'll be fine.
Yeah, you pull a plane, you can do anything.
That's right. The skies parted one day. I start giving him the story. Listen, the skies parted on the chosen one. But yeah, man, it's been a fucking trip, gentlemen. That's a hell of an origin story.
That way. It wasn't the only show. You did the Guinness show too, eh?
Oh, yeah. So
don't forget the Guinness show.
Jesus Christ.
Dude, I forget my whole goddamn story. But yeah, that was wild, dude. So previously I was hunting for these roles. And sometimes things just fall on your lap. The America's Got Talent, I didn't think they would want me because I'm not American. They reached out to me. So after I did Canada's Got Talent and after you're on a TV show, now the press is rolling with you and you actually have like now I don't even pay attention to the news in the normal press. We're all social media. 10 years ago, there was like Instagram was, I don't know if there's Instagram, even Facebook was even that big. YouTube was like only a few years old. So 10 years ago, the press was if you got press, there's a difference between if you're trying to make something happen and then all of a sudden a media company's like, we're fucking pushing you, sending out press releases. So then people from like Europe are like, we have a Guinness World Record show. We want to fly you out. We're going to, when you've squatted a bleacher full of people, I'm like, how the fuck do you know about that? And they're like, you're in Italy. Like, what the shit? And they're like, we're going to fly you out. We're going to fly out your bleachers. We're going to fly out your squat apparatus. And I'm like, dog, this is like thousands of pounds you're going to fly out. Like, how much is all of that going to cost? And like, we're getting World Records, baby. We're going to fly you out. And I'm like, what the shit? And this is how America's Got Talent found me and whatnot too. And then, so I'm like, so I'm scared again. And I'm having an anxiety attack. And I'm going to go to Italy by myself. And I go, I need to bring, I want to bring a friend and it's for support, but they're not going to, they're like, Ryan, we're paying so much money to fly you out. And like I said, again,
six pack.
My fucking man's got me. No. But I said, listen, this is a health issue. He has to wrap my knees.
Fuck off. You started that.
They don't know. They don't know though. They don't know. The TV producer's like, really? And I was like, can anybody wrap your knees? I go, no. This
you
is
started that.
I said,
it's an art form.
I said, if you don't wrap my knees properly, I could blow out my kneecaps. And then I was like, my belt. I even have a squat suit. It's just a squat suit, but I don't call it a squat suit. I go, I have a specialized compression suit devised specifically for this, and it has to be placed on me. And this guy knows what he's doing. And I'm getting in there, man. I'm selling this to him. And all the TV producers are like, what the fuck? What is going on here? And he's up. And then they come back. And these TV producers don't know nothing about weightlifting. So A, they're going to believe the lie, because anyone could probably help me get in the suit, wrap my knees. B, they also are like, I don't want to be responsible for this. And I'm like, I said, if you got like some kid on set who wants to, and they're like, no, this will be a disaster if this guy gets hurt, right? So they fucking bought my buddy a plane ticket. We're in hotels. They pay for your hotel's food. They even pay you money to do it because you're on a TV show. So I'm like, my buddy's like, holy shit, dude, you bullshitted. Like, you got me.
We're boys for life now.
We're boys for life now. Like we got an Italian. We went around Europe. We went to I'll get into that in a sec. Dog, are we okay for time? We're like running on 2 hours soon. How are you guys? I know you guys got
good. Yeah, we got another 10, 15, 20 minutes. Yeah, we're good.
Okay, cool. So we fly out, and that's when so the TV producer was like, we'll get you a guide who's going to show you around set. And, because I'm like, man, I'm Canadian. I don't know nothing. And they're like, okay, we'll help you out. And then that's when that girl met me at the airport. Yep. Dog, she was absolutely gorgeous. I swear to God, I fell in love the moment I saw her, but not legitly. But I was like, holy shit.
He's like, she can wrap my knees. She'll get me in the squat
suit. She's going to help me in my squat suit. I'm firing my boy. He's going to stay at the airport right now. But, it was a trip, man. So we're at the hotel and I'm scared shitless, having some cocktails to break the anxiety, but you also got to perform. And Hafthor Bjornsson is there because they have so many different acts. They had Hafthor Bjornsson. They had Big Z. Zydrunas Savickas was there.
He was there.
They had a guy who was the human lizard or some shit. Every single piece of his body was tattooed and his tongue was split. So he could put out his tongue.
Yeah.
He could put out his tongue and open it and move it around. Ooh. And every single part of his body was tattooed. And he even had bumps surgically implanted over his eyes where like a lizard would be. He looked like a full-on fucking lizard. They had the world's tallest man there. They had the real-life Spider-Man who could scale the side of buildings, and he was breaking a record. They had a guy who headbutted nails through I think they call him Hammerhead. He had, for some reason, his skull was abnormally thick. And you could see it on him. Like his forehead protrudes like he was a caveman. Yeah. He's a fucking caveman. And he could hammer. He's literally like a hammerhead. And so we're all together. And we go out drinking some nights or go to restaurants. And we fucking look like somebody just assembled the biggest cast of misfits. A team of what is going on right now? We were taking the bus. And I'm with the lizard man. He looks like a lizard man. Children were afraid to go on the bus with us. And I have the hammerhead guy who looks like a hammerhead guy. We have we're all a bunch of ragtag freaks. And then our guide is some gorgeous woman who probably did, modeling. I don't know what the shit she was doing. She's probably somewhere in media. And this is just a gig she picked up. But, and we're going around town and everyone's looking at us like freaks. And we're dude, they had it's so bizarre, man. Restaurants on the streets, bars on the streets. We're drinking on the streets, eating on the street. And and that's when I met Zydrunas Savickas and I met Half Thor. And I'm absolutely shitting bricks. Years later, on the set of at the IPF World Championships, Zydrunas Savickas, he's in Belarus. And I interviewed him for the IPF. And I was like, holy shit, there's Zydrunas Savickas. And I was like, hey, man. And we started doing the interview. And I'm like, we met before in Italy? And he goes, yeah, I recognize your face. I thought that was you. And I'm thinking, there's no goddamn way you knew that was me, man.
Yeah. You were the one with the forehead, yeah?
Yeah, you remember me. I was with the guy with the forehead and with the guy with the fucking lizard, the lizard man.
I was the normal looking dude, dude,
that's the thing. It's what are you, again, it was what are you doing here? But at the Guinness World Record, I did I squatted the bleacher full of people again, which is a record that no one else had. And who the hell's going to do it? It's all for show. This is TV. This is all just for television. They saw it and they said that makes for good TV. So I have the Guinness World Record. It's in a freaking drawer somewhere. It doesn't mean too much. But it's not about the record. It's more holy shit, man.
Did Thor and Big Z not just look at that
yeah, they're why don't I?
Yeah,
they're
what is this?
Hold my coffee. I'm about to break this fucking.
I'm gonna shoulder press this. I'm just gonna fucking come and fucking.
I'm gonna bicep kill
this. Yeah.
The thing is, here's more reality TV for you. So they knew the jig was. They knew this is just TV, right? So they were doing every week. They went. They faced each other off in a strongman event, and it was always with the attempt to set a record at the end. So every single week they would face off one and the other. And then, so I would, and then we were live on set watching sometimes holy shit, I can't believe I'm watching these guys live. And we're backstage sometimes. And they would come, we started noticing Big Z would win one, Half Thor would win one. Then Big Z would win one, and then Half Thor would win one. By the time they got to the seventh, and every day was a new event. And then by the time they got to the seventh one, I'm like, dog, there's no fucking way this is back and forth like that just by chance. This is rigged. I've been around the block enough times. I know what reality TV is. This shit's rigged, homie. These guys are this is all TV show. We're all collecting the paycheck and enjoying ourselves and having cocktails and eating food and just enjoying the event. So anyways, for sure. I don't even know who, I think they actually ended up directly tying and being 4-4 in terms who got the most world records at the end of it. But
what was it like? What was it like hanging out with Big Z and Hathor? Because they're big humans, eh?
Absolutely monstrous. Yeah. I mean, there's big, and then there's Half Thor. I have a picture, and I look like a child next to these guys. It is embarrassing. People God, that size difference though, and all the comments are holy. I could send you a picture of me and Big Z and Half Thor. Yeah. It's hilarious how small I look beside these gentlemen. Half Thor was He was because I don't know how good his English was. Actually, I think his English is pretty good, isn't it? He didn't say much.
It's good now. It's definitely good now.
Yeah, it's better.
We went up to him there was a dining room on set, and I was I don't want to disturb these guys. He's nah, man, we got to. It's nah, man, these dudes look intimidating as shit, and they don't look friendly. I'm sure they are, but you're not thinking they are. And they're nah, I'm walking up to him, and I was you going? He's yeah. I'm fucking going with you. So, that's right. So we roll up and like I'm hanging out with like the lizard man and shit like that, right? So we roll up and like we're taking pictures and they're not saying a whole hell of a lot. Like you could tell they were looking at us like, we'll take pictures, but don't get comfortable enough to sit down with us and start being like that. It's like, which, fair enough, whatever, fair enough. So, yeah, I mean, they were good guys, good enough guys. They humored us anyways, man. And then later on, when I met Big Z again at the IPF World Championships, he was at the banquet when the World Championships is over. There's a banquet. Everyone's drinking, eating, partying. And he was there with the SPD president, Benjamin Banks. And I was like, holy shit, there's Hafthor. And my one buddy from the IPF media team, they're like older guys from the UK. And they're like, go talk to him, man. And I was like, no, I can't talk to him. That's Hafthor. And like, come on, man, go talk to him. And I was like, you think, yeah? And they're like, yeah. And he's like, this is like, I don't give a shit if you had 20 supermodels in the room. I'm all eyes on Big Z right now. And I'm scared shitless to talk to him, all nervous. I'm like, come on. And then my one buddy goes, listen, he's probably bored. Probably everybody's afraid to talk to him. He's sitting there by himself, sipping his beverage, and he's not able to talk to somebody because they're intimidated. Because they're intimidated because he's the pretty girl at the bar. Go talk to him. And I was like, I'm going to fucking talk to him. And so I'm nervous as shit. And because last time I tried to talk to him, I didn't get many words out, and he was on set and in his mode and wasn't interested really. So I walked up to him, and that was my icebreaker with the, we met in Italy. And then he gave me the, oh yeah, blah, blah, blah. And then we started talking a little bit. And I'm like, holy shit, I'm talking to Big Z. And I'm like, so how you doing, man? With the weightlifting, are you doing a comeback? What do you think about this? Blah, blah, blah. And I'm like, holy fuck, I'm taking pictures. I'm with Big Z. And the boys like taking pictures of me. I told them like a total nerd. I'm like, take pictures of me talking to him.
Yeah, I won't pose at all. It'll be candid ass. Just leave take it.
Because I'm a weirdo. I want to prove to everybody I talked to Big Z at the bar one night. And this little dude who's in the IPF media team, we call him Ray, or his name's Ray. We call him Sugar Ray. And he's like 80 pounds soaking wet. He's 80 years old and done it all. Like, you know all the stories I'm telling you right now. It's like, oh shit, you've done some shit. But at 80, this dude, he covered the moon landing. Like, damn. And like he remembers, like, he's met royalty. The guy has done it all, right? So his stories, like, he's got stories. And I worked up like 15 minutes to finally go talk to Big Z. And I'm talking to him. And then here comes little Sugar Ray in between us. And he pops in. And he goes, he looks over at Big Z. He turns his back to me, looks over at Big Z. And he's like, you know what? I want to tell you about the time I met Mick Jagger. And I was like, I can't fucking beat that, Ray. Damn. Like I got nothing, bro.
Yeah, Mick, yeah.
I mean, I could see Big Z look from me to Sugar Ray and this little charming man, and all of a sudden the shoulders connect, and I'm on the outside of the shoulders, like, but the circle just closed off. I'm like, God damn it. I go back to the fellas. And I'm like, don't worry, man. We got a couple pictures with you talking to him, though. And I was like, well, that's kind of cool. So that when Sugar Ray comes back after like 45 minutes of being best friends with Big Z, and they're all laughing it up, all the fellas like, Ray, what the fuck, man? That was Six Pack's girl, man. You just cut in on that dance. It's like I had the girl at the dance, and some guy goes, can I cut in?
Yeah.
Like, come on,
mind
man.
if I take this dance? Yeah.
It's Josh.
Right, you mind if I take this dance? Yeah. Like, God damn it, man.
You're sitting there like, hey, Big Z, remember that time we were like the three strong men on that TV show? I had strong man beside my name as well, man. Like, come on.
That's right. I'm like, we got records. I'm like, my record still stands, though.
Yeah. Where's your record? Yeah. How many times you squat bleacher full of people?
That's right. I start getting cocky. Like, who squats bleachers full of people? Of course your record still stands. What the fuck? But it is what it is. Yeah, man. It's been a trip.
It's been awesome, man. We're coming up on a couple of hours, but just really quickly, we're going to get you back on because I'm going to call this part one. I don't know if you want to come back on at a later date, but we want to hear some more from you.
Man.
No, he hates us. That's it. We're out. We're off. He's cancelling us. He's going to put on King of the List.
Yeah,
I'll edit the platform.
We didn't talk about like current issues. I mean, we could talk about so much. For sure, come back on. And I can tell you, like, we could talk about current issues going on strongman, powerlifting. Didn't even touch base on King of Lifts or anything like that or whatever the shit, man. Yeah. So for sure, man, part one.
I'd love to hear. Before we go, though, what are some big plans you got coming up with King of the Lifts? You got any plans for the next, is there a 1 year plan, a 5 year plan, 10-year plan?
Yeah, I mean, we are starting to now getting into, so obviously the podcast is rocking and rolling and we're closing in on 250,000 followers. And we're starting to work with the strength guys in their coaching service and offering, they said powerlifting coaching right now costs like a bundle. It could be like 200 to whatever US a month. And people are like, damn, man, for most people, this is a hobby sport, and it's not really something that you can afford. For a lot of people, for a hobby sport, most people only stay in powerlifting for 1 or 2 meets and then keep it moving. So they had the idea of, and they're very much expensive because they have like world champions under them. So they're like, we have an app coming out, and it'll be $29.99 a month, and could we work with King of Lifts in terms of like marketing this thing? And I'm like, all right, well, look, this is like a brand new project. We've never done anything like this. Now, I'm not going to do any coaching or anything. This is them doing the coaching service, but absolutely. So we started talking, and that's one of the projects we've been working on. Wanted to work, if we're going to do anything like that in terms of like offering people like helping promotion, because people say when they follow King of Lifts, we don't do like any promotion. Because I didn't want to take anybody's money and start promoting unless I was 100%. Held off for a long time. People like sponsors come forward, like, we want to sponsor, and here's some money, and you could do like whatever, the fit gun or whatever the shit. And I'm like, I don't use a fit gun, though. No. Well, how about these, whatever it is? Like, you get it. You got 250,000 followers. People like,
I feel you.
Here's what we want to do. Like, you have like 250,000 followers of a niche market, not a generalized market. So if you have a niche product, bang, this is like your dream. And like, I was like, we are going to keep saying no year after year until it's something that's like, okay. Because when people think King of Lifts, when you make it on King of Lifts, it's like, fuck, I made it on King of Lifts because it's premium lifting, elite level lifting. So it feels like something. So I was like, I can't, let's just hold off. Something will present itself somewhere down the line. 4 years, 5 years deep, because I started in 2016. Finally, like, this kind of idea comes around, and I'm like, you know what? This is, you guys like you guys coach world champions, etc. And if it's to promote this app where people get like world championship level coaching for like something that I think King of Lifts followers, which are probably the general public, can afford, because I know these guys are, I don't need to vet them. These guys like coaching Taylor Atwood and shit. Like, you know, he won the best lifter at the world championships. Like, you got world champions, and then you got the best world champion of all the world champions. Like, all right, man. Well, what's that, sorry?
And best hair. I he has the best hair in the IPF.
His hair is absolutely phenomenal. There's another fucking guy who gets some shampoo commercials, right?
Yeah,
but
the new Josh.
That's right. He's the new Josh. There's always a Josh in my life. So anyways, that's a project been working on, and obviously, hopefully get some things like the Sheffield. So the SPD Sheffield event was going to take all of the world champions from the IPF Worlds and have them clash in super showdowns. And it was kind of like going to be kind of like a Kern money meet, but they were going to have 250,000 US. They were going to have a press conference. The stadium they had was going to be like you would watch an opera on the stage style stadium. So the seating was like that. Like, you know, they have balconies and opera style balconies where it looks fucking mint. And they were going to have the press conference so they were going to bring me in to do, I say, well, like, this is eventually going to happen, but we can't tell when, because they need an IPF Worlds to happen to have IPF World Champions, and then the event. And I don't even know if we're going to have Worlds, like, who knows, right? But it's going to happen. And they're going to have, like, if you buy VIP package, you get to show up at the press conference and ask your favorite lifters, meet and greets. And then just like when you watch a UFC or boxing event, which is on tonight, and I'm fucking amped up for it. Just like one of those events where you see one of the commentators, like Joe Rogan, is interviewing one of the athletes, and they show them. They were going to have me interviewing athletes. They were going to have me, like, the production. And they were, you know how I was telling you about the game day when, okay, this guy's a subtotal guy, this guy's a deadlifter, this guy, here's what some of their like game day techniques might be, and like an actual analytical breakdown. We were going to do the whole Route 9 like real sports, like we'd never seen.
Like a real ESPN type deal, eh?
Full on like that. It's still going to happen. The budget, the years they put into planning, the plug got pulled a week before I was about, like my flight was booked, everything, heartbreaking. That's still going to happen. So there's a lot of things on the go, as well as the IPF Worlds and yada, yada. But in terms of execution, I mean, the app is going to happen because it's just an online thing. COVID doesn't matter. But the other events and stuff, it's tough to say. It's tough to say, my man. And you hate to overcommit. Nobody wants to like plunk too much money down and put too much into it, and then everything cancels. So we'll have to see, my friend.
We'll have to see, man.
Yeah.
All right, man. Well, we're gonna end on a high. Unfortunately, we've got
to I had a question from one guy, from Ben.
Oh yeah, get it.
I promised him I would ask this because
I know Ben. I know you wouldn't hear the end of it,
and I wouldn't hear the end of it. So this is Ben Calderley, nice guy. So he wanted to know, and this is a horrendous question, I think, because it's going to like polarize you to everyone else. Who is the most impressive lifter of all time, in your opinion?
Ooh,
holy shit!
This is going to end. We're ending on a cliffhanger for part 2.
The most impressive of all time.
All time. No holds barred.
We're talking about the GOAT, aren't we? GOAT across all classes, all divisions, all years.
I mean, obviously, the consensus is going to be Ed Cohen, right?
It's your opinion.
Yeah,
your opinion, man. Brother. Go for your life.
You're not allowed to say Ed Cohen.
Well, here's the thing, because
you get banned. You're not allowed to say.
You're going to get banned, man.
Oh yeah, because no, but I do lean on, like, from my era, what I saw, like, personally, like, I wasn't like Ed Cohen, or any of the lifters from that era. You read about, see videos, but I've been lucky, man, to experience live certain people. I'll never, ever take that for granted. It doesn't matter how many IPF World Championships I show up on. When I sit there, I'm like, watching this happen, I'm like, holy shit, it doesn't ever get old. It's like, when you hear true love is when you're 7 years old, you look at your 70-year-old wife and she still looks like she's 25 in your heart. That's the way it is with powerlifting. That's why I know I love what I do. My fucking man. Jackson appreciates that. Yeah. He appreciates that because he's been hitting me up all day. Been hitting me up all day with these, lobbing them down the middle, and I knock them out the park. There's another one for you, buddy. So for me, in terms of, I have emotional attachment, though, to some of these people, like from my era that I see live, like when you see the battle unfold. I think the most impressive where I was like, holy shit. The biggest moment I had actually was John Hack, 2016, when he beat Brett Gibbs and he won. That was the biggest event, class showdown, and I'll never forget that. And John Hack's killing it right now. He's absolutely murdering it right now. Also, Ray Williams. At one point, I heard myself say, we are watching the strongest man in the world about to do his thing. And obviously he's the first man to ever squat 1,000 pounds, etc. And I heard myself say that in a commentary booth in a different country, 20 feet away from him as he's doing it. And you have one of those realization moments like, holy shit, right? What am I doing? This is real. And so I have an emotional attachment to that as well. So for me, it's Ray Williams, and the man squatted 1,000 pounds, like in sleeves, and John Hack. If I was going to say the people that most impressed me and left that like I was there and I felt like I was there in the sense that I was in the crowd. I wasn't in. I'm not fucking wrapping his knees like my boy in Italy. But anyways, and let me just say a shout out to my girl Wiley Zhang, who's fighting tonight. I don't know if you guys watched the UFC, but I reposted her one time on King of the Lifts. Nothing to do with fucking powerlifting. She reposted my post. I was like, holy shit.
Oh, nice.
I reposted her repost like a fucking fanboy. And she slid into my DMs.
And said, stop posting about me.
He said,
when does this end?
And said, I am blocking you, you fucking freakazoid. No, she didn't. She gave me some emojis, but because she's from China. And I was like, oh my God, why these things just slid into my DMs? And I'm like, I think we're dating. I think we're gonna be dating and have kids.
Raindrops.
Dog, it was beautiful. So I remember the first thing I did was I messaged Taylor Atwood, the man with the hair, and I'm like, dude, why are these things in my DMs? He's like, shoot your shot. And I'm like, what do you mean? He goes, shoot your shot. And then he gave me the basketball emoji of someone shooting their shot. And I'm like, ooh, holy fuck. But nothing happened after that. So it is what it is. But
I can say though, we can say that, Joe Rogan, watch out.
Yeah. Watch out.
Yeah, watch out, brother.
UFC commentator picking it.
Yeah, six packs coming for you.
Yeah, right.
Oh, wait, everyone knows him as Joe. I've said to people, hey, we're interviewing Ryan this weekend. They're like, who the fuck's that? I'm like, it's Six Pack. They're like, see, Joe doesn't have a fucking nickname.
No, exactly.
There you go. See? And that's where, when I was on Canada's Got Talent, one of the first things they said was like, why Six Pack Lapadat? I'm like, because you're going to remember Six Pack Lapadat. Yeah. You're not going to remember Ryan, and it flows off the tongue. Six Pack Lapadat. Six Pack Lapadat.
It's like one word.
Beautiful.
And the guy, it becomes one word, and it's actually something that gets used. And the guy's like, God damn it, you're right. I'm like, come on, man.
Let's do it.
Showbiz, baby.
Something. Yeah.
That's right. Showbiz, baby. Ladies, fellas, thank you for having me on. God damn, this was enjoyable.
Fucking pleasure, man.
This is a good time. Yeah, no, thanks for your time, sir.
Thank you. And I hope you guys got to like crush some food and down some coffee. When is Ashton coming on?
10 minutes.
You see? This is what I'm saying.
We got 10 minutes.
This is what I'm saying, where I know I've been in enough rodeos to know I got to get in first. I got to get my boys while they're fresh. Well, good luck, man. I won't keep you waiting. You guys go eat some food, and we'll keep in touch, and we'll do a round 2 down the road.
Take it easy, man. We'll talk to you soon.
That's good.
See you later.
Thank you, sir.
Let's back out. See you, brother.